Stephen Reynolds woke before dawn to the muted glow of the Los Angeles skyline slipping through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Beverly Hills penthouse. The city lights winked below, but he barely noticed them. In his hands, he held a cream-colored envelope with embossed lettering. It was the kind of stationery people used for fairy tale weddings or high society galas. For him, it brought a rush of unwanted memories. Jessica Bennett. After 3 years, her name still brought a sting to his chest. He set the invitation on the gleaming marble countertop, taking a moment to steady himself. His reflection in the glass revealed a man in his mid-30s, tall and athletically built, with tired green eyes. Those eyes betrayed something he rarely admitted, lingering pain and regret. Everyone else saw the successful tech entrepreneur who had transformed a scrappy startup into a multi-million-dollar empire. He was often described as methodical, persistent, and even intimidating in the boardroom. But alone, in the early morning silence, he struggled with the private sorrow that had defined his personal life for far too long. In a corner of his living room, a half-packed travel bag sat open. Stephen often took trips for business, usually to San Francisco or New York, sealing deals with investors. Yet this morning, he couldn't focus on corporate strategies or the latest project deadlines. His thoughts circled back to Jessica and the way she had slipped through his fingers. The memory of her walking out, hand in hand with Tyler Davis, his then best friend, was etched into his mind like a recurring nightmare. He absently ran his fingers across the smooth surface of the invitation. The text was formal, almost clinical, announcing the union of Jessica Bennett and Tyler Davis. At the bottom, there was a tiny cursive note. "Stephen, I'd love for you to be there. No hard feelings." Those 4 words, "no hard feelings," made him clench his jaw. It implied forgiveness for something he wasn't even sure he'd done. Or maybe Jessica believed time had healed the wounds she inflicted. He swallowed a bitter taste and walked to the window. Sunlight began to stretch over the horizon, illuminating the modern lines and polished glass of his penthouse. The decor reflected his approach to life, sleek, efficient, and expensive without screaming for attention. Despite the comfort and luxury, this space felt empty. Once upon a time, he had pictured Jessica living here with him. He had envisioned lazy Sunday mornings cooking together, or nights spent laughing over takeout while discussing new technology trends. Instead, she'd left him standing at the apex of a success they should have shared. He considered calling his father in Colorado, a retired construction manager who lived a simple to a quiet life. They spoke occasionally, but never about feelings. Stephen's mother had passed away long before he met Jessica, so there was no maternal figure to offer guidance. His father would listen, but probably just grunt and say, "Son, if you're not happy, do something about it." That wasn't the worst advice, but at that moment, Stephen needed more than a distant pep talk. His phone buzzed on the kitchen island, pulling him from his reflection in the glass. A glance at the screen told him it was an unimportant message. Someone from the office asking about next week's sales numbers. Ordinarily, he would reply within seconds with precise data or a quick directive. Today, he ignored it. His heart was hammering with unresolved questions. Why send me an invitation? Does she truly expect me to show up alone, pretending we're all friends now? Stephen exhaled, forcing himself to calm down. He wandered across the expansive living area to a shelf lined with a few treasured photos. Most showcased his achievements, accepting an entrepreneur award, posing with famous CEOs, or shaking hands with high-profile venture capitalists. The only personal image was an older snapshot of him and Jessica at a beach, barefoot and smiling. He lifted it, remembering that day vividly. She'd told him she felt safe with him, that she believed in his dreams. 2 months later, she ended everything. He replaced the photo and returned to the invitation. If he didn't go, he could keep some measure of pride. Yet a simmering part of him whispered that showing up might be his chance to prove he was beyond her betrayal. Still, he couldn't ignore the hollow ache in his chest. Was it truly about closure, or was this an excuse to confront the past he'd never fully let go? He wiped a hand over his face and dropped onto a sleek leather couch. The quiet hum of the city rose from below, but it felt distant. The wedding was in a matter of weeks, and he had no idea how to approach it. He picked up the invitation once more, his mind churning with possibilities. Go, don't go, or maybe there was another way. Something that would give him the upper hand, or at least some sense of control over a situation that once shattered his heart. As dawn gave way to morning light, he resolved to figure out exactly what that other way might be. 2 days passed, and Stephen still hadn't decided whether to RSVP. He arrived at his office early, hoping to escape his restless thoughts by burying himself in meetings. His downtown Los Angeles headquarters occupied 3 floors of a state-of-the-art tower, filled with top engineers, savvy marketing teams, and cutting-edge technology. Sleek corridors buzzed with the excitement of big ideas and bigger contracts. He settled into his glass-walled corner office, adjusted his tie, and flipped open his laptop. A banner ad for wedding venues flashed across his screen, prompting a groan. The internet algorithms, he assumed, had locked onto his recent search history for Jessica Bennett wedding. Even the digital world seemed intent on reminding him of her upcoming ceremony. Before he could close the browser, his personal phone rang. He recognized the name, Lucas Montoya, an old college friend and now a lead designer in Stephen's company. "Hey," Stephen answered, forcing a note of calm into his voice. "You got a minute?" Lucas asked. "Sure. What's going on?" Lucas paused, as if weighing his words. "I heard a rumor that Jessica Bennett is getting married to, well, you know." "Yeah, Tyler Davis." "My former best friend," Stephen sighed, leaning back in his ergonomic chair. "I take it the rumor reached you fast." "It did. I assume you got an invitation." Lucas's tone was cautious, a quiet testament to how close they once were. After Jessica left, Stephen had pulled away from many friendships, but Lucas had stayed around, offering support whenever he could. "It showed up in my mail last week." Stephen rubbed the bridge of his nose. "I've been staring at it, not sure if I should bother responding." "You know she wants a show, right?" Lucas said. "Jessica always liked drama. Inviting you could be her way of flaunting a happy ending." Stephen drummed his fingers on the desk. "That's exactly what's bothering me. If I don't go, it looks like I'm hiding. If I show up alone, it gives her all the satisfaction of seeing me still single and possibly broken." "You could bring someone," Lucas suggested. "Even if it's just a friend, no need to let her think you're still torn up." Stephen stood and gazed out the window at the bustling city. "That crossed my mind, but it's not exactly my style to fake a date." He heard Lucas chuckle faintly. "You might surprise yourself. Jessica's playing a mind game, so maybe you need a strategy of your own. Sometimes a little cunning goes a long way." Stephen forced a tight smile. "I'll keep that in mind. By the way, you working on that new user interface?" Lucas allowed the subject to change, discussing design updates and upcoming presentations. Yet once the call ended, Stephen found his thoughts drawn back to the question of how to handle Jessica's wedding. His pride refused to let him be the butt of her spectacle. Later that afternoon, while reviewing a contract in one of the conference rooms, Stephen's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from Gregory Parker, a middle-aged investor with a minor stake in his company. "Lunch tomorrow. Need to finalize details for the Phoenix project. Urgent." Stephen frowned. recalling that Gregory's sense of urgency often stemmed from self-serving angles. Still, he typed a quick reply. "Fine. 12:30 at Redwood Bistro." Work carried on, but Jessica's invitation kept flashing in the back of his mind. As the day wound down, he stepped outside to catch a breath of fresh air. Los Angeles traffic crawled below, while neon signs flickered to life against the twilight sky. He pulled the invitation from his briefcase, rereading the carefully scripted words. He took a moment to reflect on Lucas's advice. Maybe bringing someone as a date wouldn't be a bad idea. But who? His few relationships after Jessica had fizzled quickly, and he wasn't seeing anyone now. A co-worker. That felt messy. A random acquaintance. That sounded desperate. His phone screen lit up with a calendar reminder, a dinner meeting at an upscale restaurant in Beverly Hills that evening. Redwood Bistro was known for its elegant ambiance and top-notch cuisine. As he pocketed his phone, he decided to head there early, hoping to clear his head with a quiet meal before his official meeting. If nothing else, it'd give him space to figure out how he might reclaim control of the story Jessica was trying to write about his life. On the drive, he wove through streets lined with palm trees and designer storefronts, all glowing under the city's evening lights. His mind played various scenarios, ignoring the wedding, crashing it with a stunning partner, or delivering a short, polite appearance that left Jessica speechless. By the time he pulled into the parking lot of Redwood Bistro, he realized he had no clear decision yet. But as he stepped out of his car and straightened his suit jacket, a spark of determination flickered inside him. He would find a way to ensure that this time, Jessica wouldn't get the last laugh. The soothing jazz playing through the Redwood Bistro speakers did little to calm Stephen's nerves. He'd arrived early, as planned, and requested a quiet corner table. A soft, amber glow from the pendant lights gave the restaurant a serene atmosphere. Waiters moved gracefully between tables, carrying gleaming plates of artful cuisine. Despite the restaurant's calm setting, Stephen's mind churned with thoughts about Jessica's wedding. He told himself that he should be above such petty notions, but the sting of her betrayal was still fresh. He slid into a chair, the plush upholstery hugging his shoulders, and let out a long exhale. Moments after he scanned the menu, an unfamiliar voice spoke up. "Welcome to Redwood Bistro, sir. Tonight's special is a braised lamb with rosemary juice. May I start you off with a drink?" Stephen looked up to see a woman with striking green eyes and an air of quiet confidence. She wore a black chef's jacket, unusual for someone taking orders in the dining area. A subtle line of flour dusted one sleeve, suggesting she'd been busy in the kitchen not long ago. "Thanks," he said, meeting her gaze. "I'll have a bourbon on the rocks, please." She nodded, her expression polite but inquisitive. "Of course. I'm Donna Collins, the executive chef here. Pardon me if it seems odd that I'm taking orders, but we're short-staffed tonight. One of our lead servers called in sick." "Stephen Reynolds," he replied. "I appreciate the extra effort. I've heard great things about this place." Donna offered a composed smile. "We strive to make each guest feel at home." She scribbled on a small notepad. "Your drink should be right out. If you have any dietary preferences or requests, let me know." He thanked her, and she disappeared into the bustling kitchen. Stephen's focus shifted to the quiet hum of conversation around him. Couples leaned in close, laughing softly. A group of friends toasted with wine glasses. The ordinary happiness of life going on around him made him feel even more unsettled. A few minutes later, Donna returned with his bourbon. "Would you like to hear more about the specials? Our pastry chef just perfected a new dessert." "That's all right," Stephen cut in, trying not to sound curt. "I'll look over the menu. My mind's on other things tonight." She placed the bourbon gently on the table. "I understand. If you need time, I'll check back in a bit." After a tentative sip of his drink, Stephen found himself observing Donna through the glass partition that led to the open kitchen. She navigated pans, sizzling stations, and staff with practiced assurance. He admired her composure under pressure, something he knew all too well from his own corporate world. As she supervised a new sous chef plating an appetizer, she offered patient instruction, never raising her voice, her entire demeanor commanding respect. When she re-emerged, Stephen decided to venture a bit of conversation. "Long night?" he asked, gesturing toward her flour-stained sleeve. Donna shrugged, though not without a hint of pride. "The usual pace for a Friday. We had 2 catering orders this morning, a full lunch crowd, and this dinner rush, but I love it. The kitchen is my sanctuary." Stephen found himself nodding. "I can relate. Work has always been my escape, too." She set her notepad aside. "If it's not too forward, you seem a little tense. Big meeting later." He hesitated. Was he really going to unload his personal problems on a stranger? Yet something in Donna's tone invited honesty. "Actually, yes. I'm meeting someone from my company shortly, but that's not the real issue." She raised an eyebrow, waiting. He surprised himself by continuing. "I got an invitation to my ex's wedding. It's complicated." He cleared his throat, suddenly feeling exposed. "I probably shouldn't be talking about it." Donna nodded sympathetically. "Weddings can be stressful under the best circumstances. If it helps, I've seen a lot of emotions play out at weddings. I cater events all the time. People's vulnerabilities are at full display there." She offered a faint smile, then glanced around to ensure no other table needed her immediately. "I'm a firm believer that sometimes facing things head-on is the only way to move forward, but I also understand the urge to steer clear of past pain." Stephen studied her face, intrigued by the depth behind those green eyes. "You sound like you've lived it." "In a way," she replied softly. Then, noticing a gesture from a nearby waiter, she stood taller. "I should check on the other tables. Let me know if you decide on something to eat." He watched her walk away, a slight flutter in his chest. Conversations with strangers usually stayed shallow, but this felt unexpectedly genuine. She was a chef dedicated to her craft, dealing with chaos every day and still maintaining empathy. He admired that. Yet as he finished the last sip of bourbon, his thoughts drifted back to Jessica. Did he really want to attend her wedding? Or was he only considering it to prove a point? The bitterness of his heartbreak lingered on his tongue, and he couldn't shake the desire to show Jessica she hadn't destroyed him. Still, part of him worried, if he went in with vengeance on his mind, would he sink back into the pain he'd worked so hard to overcome? Stephen's meeting with Gregory Parker that night went as he'd anticipated. The older man arrived half an hour late, offered a quick apology, and launched straight into talk of numbers and projected profits for their company's newest software release. While Gregory's questions were valid, his attitude grated on Stephen. There was an air of condescension behind every query. When the conversation finally wrapped up, Stephen found himself at the bar near the bistro's entrance, reviewing the documents Gregory had left behind. He was about to order a second drink when he caught sight of Donna stepping outside through a side door. She seemed to be taking a moment to breathe after the hectic dinner rush. His curiosity piqued. He tucked the files under his arm and followed her out, uncertain of his own motive. Outside, the alley was illuminated by a single, flickering lamp. The faint smell of cooking oils and spices lingered in the air. Donna leaned against the brick wall, arms folded. When she noticed him, she straightened, pushing a stray lock of dark hair behind her ear. "Long night?" Stephen asked, echoing the question he'd posed earlier. She smiled ruefully. "It was a madhouse, but we got through it. You're still here?" He nodded. "Had a business meeting. The man I was with just left. I needed a moment to decompress." He paused, feeling a slight awkwardness. Wanted to say thanks for the service earlier, and the conversation. Donna studied him, her expression open, yet cautious. "You're welcome. I hope the meeting went well." "As well as it could," Stephen replied. "The usual investor dance. I prefer to handle business on my own terms. But sometimes that's not possible. Kind of like dealing with wedding tensions, I guess." She chuckled lightly, and for a moment the tension in the air seemed to dissolve. "I suppose so. Good analogy. Listen, about earlier. I didn't mean to pry. If I touched a nerve—" "No, you didn't," Stephen cut in. "Strangely, it helped to say it out loud. I've been wrestling with that whole dilemma, go or not go to the wedding, take a date or show up alone." Donna's brow furrowed in understanding. "If you do go, maybe find someone who can support you, even if it's just a friend. That kind of event can be emotionally charged." He sighed, staring at a small puddle on the ground. "It's more complicated than I want to admit. My ex left me for someone I trusted. I guess there's a part of me that wants to prove I'm fine without her. Another part wants no part of the drama." She nodded, her voice gentle. "Sometimes proving ourselves isn't about showing up others. It's about showing ourselves what we're capable of. But it's your call." Her words settled in him like warm coals on a winter night, encouraging but not overstepping. For a moment, the sound of distant traffic filled the silence, and Stephen realized how unusual it felt to confide in someone he'd just met. Donna glanced at her watch. "I should head back in. The staff needs me to finalize tomorrow's menu." "Are you sticking around?" "I might linger for a minute," he said. "Need to wrap my head around these spreadsheets." He held up the folder of documents. "Then I'll get out of your way." She gave him a small wave, then disappeared through the door into the bright lights of the kitchen. Stephen lingered in the alley, replaying the conversation. There was something refreshing about the way she listened, neither pitying him nor dismissing his predicament. It reminded him that not everyone in his life was self-interested or manipulative, like Jessica had been, or like Gregory seemed to be. His phone buzzed, pulling his attention back. A text from Lucas glowed on the screen. "Thinking about your plan for the wedding. Don't let her rattle you. We can figure something out." Stephen typed a quick reply, telling Lucas he was still on the fence but appreciated the support. A cool breeze swept through the alley, rustling paper cups on the ground. Stephen inhaled deeply, then headed back inside. The main dining area had quieted. Only a few patrons remained. He glimpsed Donna in the open kitchen, discussing something with a sous chef. Their conversation looked intense, but her posture remained calm and assured. He wondered where she found that sense of calm. In his own career, he was driven by unrelenting ambition, a determination to exceed every goal he set for himself. Yet, in personal matters, he was prone to overthinking and fear of vulnerability. For a fleeting second, the idea crossed his mind that maybe, just maybe, a woman like Donna could help him handle life beyond the boardroom. It was a peculiar thought, considering he barely knew her. But the notion lingered. Stephen made his way to the front, paid the bill, and left a generous tip. Before stepping out into the night, he caught one last look at Donna through the kitchen window. Then he pushed open the heavy wooden door, stepping onto the sidewalk under a sky dotted with city lights. The wedding dilemma still weighed on him, yet there was a shift inside, small but undeniable. Perhaps he wasn't alone in this after all. Maybe there was someone out there who could stand beside him, even if he didn't know how or why, just yet. A few days after his conversation with Donna, Stephen found himself pacing his penthouse living room. He kept telling himself this idea was nuts, but he couldn't shake it. Every time he tried to think of a different plan, he ended up back at the same wild notion: ask Donna to be his date for the wedding. He had hardly spoken to her since that evening at Redwood Bistro, but something about her straightforward nature and quiet confidence stuck with him. He paused at his large windows, gazing out at the skyscrapers that dotted Beverly Hills. In the reflection of the glass, he saw a man who appeared restless and a bit nervous, a stark contrast to the poised businessman everyone knew. Was he really considering hiring someone to pose as his girlfriend just to save face at an ex's wedding? His phone rang, breaking his trance. The caller ID showed Lucas Montoya. Stephen answered quickly. "Any breakthroughs?" he asked, assuming Lucas was calling about a work project. Lucas chuckled. "Do you ever greet people with a simple hello? I was calling to check on you. You sounded pretty rattled last time we talked." Stephen rubbed his temple. "I'm fine. Sort of. Actually, can I run something by you?" "Of course." Stephen swallowed hard. "I've been thinking about bringing a date to Jessica's wedding, someone I just met." Lucas's silence on the other end was palpable. "All right," Lucas finally said. "Sounds intriguing. Anyone I know?" "No, she's a chef I met at Redwood Bistro. Donna Collins." "Donna Collins," Lucas repeated. "Why her?" "She doesn't know Jessica or Tyler. She's got this no-nonsense attitude. And I feel like I can talk to her without all the usual pretense." He paced again, switching the phone to his other ear. "It's crazy. I barely know her. But the wedding is next month. And maybe this arrangement could help us both in some way." Lucas let out a thoughtful hum. "Are you telling me you're planning to pay her to show up as your girlfriend?" Stephen cringed at how shallow it sounded. "I'd make it worth her while. You know, just a short gig, so to speak. She might appreciate the extra income or business connections. She mentioned catering events. Jessica's wedding will be full of wealthy guests. I guess it might help her professionally. But are you sure this is a good idea?" Stephen hesitated. "No, I'm not sure at all. But I'm running out of time, and I don't want to go alone." Lucas sighed. "Look, you're a grown man. If you think this is right, go for it. Just be careful. People's feelings can get messy." They said their goodbyes, leaving Stephen more resolved yet uneasy. After flipping through his contacts, he realized he didn't even have Donna's number. He'd have to go back to Redwood Bistro if he wanted to speak with her. 10 minutes later, he was in his car, weaving through late afternoon traffic until he reached the familiar valet stand. Inside, the restaurant was quieter than it had been during his last visit. A hostess recognized him and led him to a corner table. As he scanned the menu absent-mindedly, he spotted Donna near the kitchen, conferring with a staff member. He waited until she was finished and approached cautiously. "Hello again," he said, feeling unexpectedly nervous. Donna turned, looking mildly surprised. "Stephen, right. Back for another bourbon?" He managed a small laugh. "Actually, I was hoping for a conversation." She glanced at the staff behind her, then nodded. "Sure, I have a short break. We can step into the private dining room." They slipped into a small, tastefully decorated space away from the main dining area. Stephen noticed the faint aroma of fresh herbs and lemon. Donna closed the door behind them, arms crossed in curiosity. "So, what brings you here in the middle of the day?" He took a breath, resisting the urge to pace. "I have a proposition, and I realize how strange this might sound." Donna tilted her head, her eyes reflecting both caution and intrigue. "Go on." Stephen explained the wedding, the complicated backstory, and his desire not to appear vulnerable in front of Jessica and her social circle. He admitted he thought it might benefit Donna, given the influential guests who would be present. When he finished, Donna's expression was guarded. "So, let me get this straight. You want me to pose as your girlfriend at your ex's wedding, so you can show everyone you've moved on?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "Basically, Yes, I'd pay for your time and any other expenses. I know it's unusual, but I'm short on options. And I remember you mentioning how you cater high-end events. This might help you connect with potential clients. She let out a slow exhale, studying him for a moment. It is unusual. I won't pretend it's not, and I don't normally do stuff like this. He resisted the urge to apologize again, feeling suddenly exposed. I understand if you say no, I just had to ask. Donna tapped a finger against her chin, her gaze drifting toward a framed photograph of a past catering event on the wall. I'm not saying no right away. There's a part of me that thinks, maybe this could work out. But I want to be clear about something. I have my own reasons for wanting to attend that wedding. Stephen blinked. What do you mean? She pursed her lips. Let's just say Jessica Bennett tried to do business with me a while back, and it didn't go well. I have some unfinished issues with her. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. I didn't realize you knew her. That changes things. Donna shrugged. It might, but it also means I won't be just arm candy. If I do this, we do it on my terms as well. I'll play the part of a supportive girlfriend, but I have my own reasons for wanting to face Jessica. Stephen nodded, feeling an unexpected sense of relief. I'm okay with that. More than okay, actually. She extended her hand, a slight smile forming. Then we have a deal. He took her hand, feeling a spark of adrenaline rush through him. We do, he said softly, realizing in that moment how unpredictable this choice might be. Yet, for the first time since receiving the invitation, a sense of hope, even excitement, began to overtake his lingering resentment. 3 days after forging their peculiar deal, Stephen and Donna agreed to meet at Lucas Montoya's design studio. Lucas, a wiry man of 36 with sharp eyes and a warm smile, had offered his space for them to talk privately. He was tinkering with a prototype of a new holographic interface when Stephen and Donna arrived. Welcome, Lucas said, motioning them inside. The airy, loft-like studio was dotted with 3D printers, half-assembled circuit boards, and sketches pinned to wide corkboards. He guided them to a corner where a few comfortable chairs encircled a small table scattered with design notes and coffee cups. Donna took in the high ceilings, the clean lines of the walls, and the neon accents that glowed softly at the edges of the room. This is impressive, she remarked, brushing a hand over a polished metal sculpture shaped like an abstract wave. Lucas set down his tablet. Thanks. I've been experimenting with minimalist design for an upcoming product showcase. But enough about my projects. Stephen told me you two are joining forces for his ex's wedding. Stephen eased into a chair. I wanted you to meet Donna because you're someone I trust, and I value your perspective. Plus, I thought you might help us refine our story before we show up at Jessica's ceremony. Donna perched on the edge of her seat. I suppose we should figure out the details. We agreed I'd pose as Stephen's girlfriend, but we haven't planned how we'll explain meeting each other, or how we've supposedly been dating. Lucas leaned forward, fingertips steepled. I'm guessing you don't want the real version out there, that he asked you to pretend. People would see through that if you're not consistent. That's the problem, Stephen said, rubbing his jaw. Donna and I barely know each other. Yet we have to act like we've been romantically involved for at least a few weeks. Jessica isn't stupid. She'll be looking for any inconsistency. Donna exhaled. We could say we met at the Redwood Bistro, true enough, and that after a couple of visits, we started seeing each other casually. Our first date might have been a discussion about food and business. She paused. As for the wedding, we'll claim we kept our relationship low-key. Since I own my own culinary business, it makes sense we'd try to avoid gossip. Lucas nodded, jotting notes on a scrap of paper. I like that angle. It's simple, close to the truth, and easy to remember. Stephen glanced from Lucas to Donna, feeling a subtle wave of relief that this was actually coming together. We should also nail down some basic things, our favorite foods, small personal stories, how we behave around each other. If anyone corners you, Donna, and grills you about me, you'll have answers. Right, she said. I already know some of your mannerisms, your preference for bourbon, how you like your coffee black, that you're obsessed with efficiency. Maybe I can mention those if someone asks. As for you, what do you know about me so far? Stephen managed a half smile. You're passionate about cooking. You're patient but direct with your staff. You can handle a chaotic schedule. You're from Los Angeles originally, right? Donna's gaze flickered, and she hesitated. Mostly. I moved around a bit after high school, but yes, I'm a local. Let's keep the details of my early life vague. I'm not hiding anything in particular. I just prefer not to talk about my upbringing with strangers. Lucas nodded in approval, noting how Donna guarded certain personal details. That's fair. Keep it close to the vest. Now about the wedding day itself. Jessica's crowd might be unpredictable. Some will be curious. Others might be outright confrontational. Are you two ready for that? Stephen inhaled. I have to be. I can't let Jessica sense any weakness. And I don't want to put Donna in a dangerous spot. Donna straightened her shoulders. I appreciate your concern, but I can handle myself. If anything, I'm more curious to see how Jessica reacts when she sees me. We have unfinished business. Lucas shot her a questioning look. Stephen hinted at that. You had some sort of conflict with her in the past. Donna tensed, but answered calmly, Jessica tried to buy a chunk of my company under shady terms. I refused. Let's just say she doesn't like being told no. I want to make sure she knows I'm not someone who backs down. A moment of silence settled over the group. Stephen recognized the same determination in Donna's voice he had when closing tough tech deals. He admired her grit. Lucas glanced at him, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Clearing his throat, Lucas reached for a small cardboard box near his desk. So, about that sign of commitment for the wedding. He pulled out 2 bands of thin metal, sleek prototypes for wearable tech. I was designing these as futuristic accessories, but they could work as matching bracelets. Something subtle that says, together, especially if people look closely. Donna took one, turning it over in her hands. It's quite stylish, could be convincing. Stephen tested the other band on his wrist. This might be helpful. People notice these little details. If we each wear one, it might reinforce the idea we're a real couple. Lucas rose, stepping aside to let them see themselves in a nearby mirror. Under the bright studio lights, they both regarded the matching metal cuffs. Stephen felt a jolt of adrenaline. This was happening. He had a partner in this unusual endeavor, and for better or worse, they were on the path to confronting Jessica. Donna returned the band to the box, nodding thoughtfully. So we'll coordinate outfits, wear these wristbands, and memorize each other's personal tidbits. Anything else before we call it a day? Lucas shrugged. Just keep practicing your story, but from where I stand, I think you two have a good shot at pulling this off. Stephen glanced at Donna, silently grateful for her willingness to walk this tricky line with him. We'll be ready, he promised, feeling both excited and uneasy about what lay ahead. A few mornings later, Stephen decided to unplug from his usual routine at the office. He informed his staff he'd be working remotely for a couple of days, ignoring the raised eyebrow from Gregory Parker, who was pushing for a final sign-off on their latest software update. Gregory's frustration aside, Stephen needed time to plan the wedding charade. He drove out to his sleek Malibu beach house, a place he rarely visited unless he required solitude. It was perched on a quiet bluff, offering an expansive view of the Pacific Ocean. He parked his car in the gravel driveway and stepped onto the wraparound deck, breathing in the salty air. The crashing waves had a way of calming his restless mind. Donna arrived an hour later, pulling up in a modest sedan. She stepped out, looking around with curiosity at the modern lines of the house, the wide glass panels that framed the ocean, and the palm trees swaying in the breeze. "This is breathtaking," she said, approaching the front door with eyes reflecting the morning sun. Stephen offered a small smile. "It's where I come to think or hide, depending on the situation." Her gaze swept across the tidy living room as he led her inside. Sunlight flooded the space, illuminating polished wooden floors and minimalist furniture. She paused by a bookshelf lined with a few personal items, a surfboard model, a framed newspaper clipping featuring Stephen's first major tech success, and a picture of him with a group of employees at a product launch. Donna touched the frame lightly. "You don't strike me as the type who likes big crowds, yet this photo shows a beaming smile." Stephen shrugged. "That was a huge milestone for me. I guess success has its moments of real joy." They settled on the couch, where a notebook and 2 steaming mugs of coffee waited. Donna picked up her cup, inhaling the aroma. "So, we're here to rehearse being in a relationship for your ex's wedding. This is uncharted territory for me." Stephen took a seat across from her, resting his elbows on his knees. "Same here. But I thought this setting might help us relax and talk. I've drawn up a list of questions and scenarios we might face, and if we have time, we can discuss outfits." Donna smiled over her mug. "I never imagined I'd be role-playing a relationship on a beach in Malibu, but here we are. Let's do this." They launched into a casual Q&A, beginning with the basics: favorite foods, personal quirks, pet peeves. Donna mentioned her love for jazz music and revealed she'd once tried to play the trumpet, but gave up when her culinary ambitions took over. Stephen admitted he was a morning person who found late-night parties draining, which made Donna laugh. They tested responses to probable questions from nosy guests. "How did you two meet? When did you realize it was serious?" Between each scenario, they paused to refine details. Sometimes they disagreed, with Donna suggesting a playful anecdote, while Stephen insisted on a more subdued approach. She would tease him for wanting precision in everything, and he'd counter that it was better to keep the story consistent than flamboyant. Their banter felt oddly natural, as if they were longtime friends practicing lines in a play. During a break, Stephen led her out onto the deck. The sun was higher in the sky, casting sparkling reflections on the water below. They leaned against the wooden railing, letting the sea breeze ruffle their hair. "We need to talk about Jessica's circle," Stephen said quietly. "They'll be the real challenge. People like Tyler, obviously, but also some of her wealthy friends and acquaintances who'll poke around." Donna folded her arms. "Any advice on dealing with them?" Stephen frowned, gazing at the rolling waves. "They're part socialite, part shark. They sniff out weakness. Don't be fazed if they ask uncomfortable questions or make insinuations. Confidence is key." She gave a resolute nod. "Confidence? Got it. I'm used to demanding clients in the culinary world, but this sounds more personal. I'll brace myself." They fell silent for a moment. Donna glanced at him. "There's something else we should talk about. The wedding will be emotional for you. Don't forget, you're not just trying to fool Jessica, you'll also be confronting the heartbreak she left behind." Stephen exhaled, feeling a faint tremor in his chest at the mention of heartbreak. "I know. It's part of why I want to bring you. I don't trust myself not to spiral if I show up alone, and I can't do that again." She placed a hand gently on his arm. "We'll handle it together. That's the deal, right?" He nodded, eyes flicking over the horizon. "Yeah," he said, his voice quiet. "That's the deal. They stepped back inside to continue their makeshift training, the tang of salt air following them. Throughout the day, the house filled with conversations about how they'd stand side by side, how they'd smile or trade quiet inside jokes. For someone so accustomed to meticulously planned business dealings, it felt strange for Stephen to rely on improvisation and trust. Yet he found himself growing more comfortable in Donna's presence, sensing a genuine connection despite the artificial premise. 1 week later, Donna suggested that Stephen visit her culinary headquarters in downtown Los Angeles. "You've seen my work at the bistro," she said over the phone, "but I have a bigger operation you should know about if anyone at the wedding asks." Stephen agreed. He drove past rows of warehouses and loading docks before arriving at a building with large windows and a sign that read, "Collins Gourmet Services." Inside, he found a bustling kitchen that hummed with activity. Stainless steel counters gleamed under fluorescent lights, and the air was thick with the aromas of roasting vegetables, simmering stocks, and fresh herbs. "Welcome to my domain," Donna said, greeting him at the entrance. She wore a fitted chef's jacket and had her hair tied back in a neat bun. Her eyes sparkled with pride as she led him through a maze of prep stations. "We cater for events all over Los Angeles, from small private parties to large-scale galas. Today, we're finalizing a menu for a Hollywood premiere next week." Stephen nodded, impressed. Rows of staff chopped vegetables at lightning speed, kneaded dough, and arranged vibrant garnishes on platters. Some called out instructions, while others focused on the swirl of chocolate and caramel that went atop miniature pastries. Donna guided him to a quieter corner where a younger man with short, curly hair was sorting ingredients into labeled containers. "This is James Carter," Donna introduced. "We call him Jimmy. He's my sous chef and has been with me since the early days. Jimmy, meet Stephen Reynolds." Jimmy wiped his hands on his apron and extended one. "Nice to meet you, sir. Donna's mentioned you in passing." His friendly tone suggested curiosity rather than skepticism. Stephen shook his hand. "Good to meet you, too. This is quite an operation you have here." Jimmy grinned. "Donna runs a tight ship, keeps us all on our toes." Donna placed a hand on Jimmy's shoulder, her expression a mix of fondness and respect. "This team is more like family than co-workers. We've built something solid here." Stephen observed them and found himself admiring Donna's easy rapport with her staff. He was used to hierarchical corporate structures and mindsets, but this felt different, more personal. The sense of camaraderie reminded him of early days in his own startup, when everyone hustled and believed in a shared vision. While Donna attended to a small crisis involving overcooked risotto, Stephen wandered around, noticing the large event boards pinned to the wall. There were color-coded schedules, sketches of table layouts, and lines of notes about dietary restrictions for VIP guests. Among the lists of upcoming events, his eyes caught something with a date circled in red: Bennett Davis wedding. Even though he expected to see it, the jolt in his stomach reminded him this was all too real. Jimmy appeared at his side, following Stephen's gaze. "Yeah, that's the wedding. Donna's told us to be on standby if you two decide to do anything last minute. We're not sure what to expect." Stephen arched an eyebrow. "Wait, you're catering the wedding too?" Jimmy shook his head. "No, not exactly. Jessica's people approached us months back for a partial menu, but the negotiations fell apart. There was something off about their terms, so Donna walked away." Stephen looked back at the event board. "So, why keep the date up there?" "Donna wants us aware of any big events in case we hear about them in the industry. We don't want any surprises." Jimmy hesitated, then added quietly, "She didn't tell you everything, did she? About her history with Jessica?" Stephen recalled Donna's hint that the business deal was shady. "She mentioned a messy negotiation." "Yeah, messy is one way to put it." Jimmy scowled, lowering his voice as a few other cooks passed by. "Jessica tried to buy a controlling stake in our company. She had big plans, but her approach felt dishonest. When Donna refused, Jessica threatened to spread rumors that our catering lacked quality control. Stephen felt a spike of anger on Donna's behalf. "That's low." Jimmy nodded, stirring a container of fresh tomato sauce. "She's always stoic in front of the staff, but it got under her skin. Donna built this place from nothing, and she wasn't about to let some socialite tarnish it. I've never seen her that upset, but she never backed down." Stephen mulled over Jimmy's words, realizing that Donna's involvement in the wedding went beyond playing his date. She had her own reasons for confronting Jessica, just as he did. He glanced around again, appreciating the passion and devotion that filled the room. Every station, every person exuded a sense of purpose. After a brief chat, Jimmy returned to his tasks, and Stephen made his way to find Donna. She stood by a stove, meticulously tasting a sauce. Her face softened when she saw him. "Sorry, crisis averted. It's been a busy day." He approached with a quiet respect. "I see that. This whole place is impressive, Donna. You've got a real community here." She offered a small shrug. "I try. Everyone who works here believes in what we do. It's what makes the business thrive." Stephen lowered his voice, so only she could hear. "Jimmy told me a bit more about Jessica's attempt to strong-arm you. I'm sorry you had to go through that." Donna set down her tasting spoon, her eyes flickering. "I'll survive, but she messed with the wrong person. This wedding might be my chance to set a few things straight, once and for all." Stephen gently placed a hand on her shoulder, hoping to convey solidarity. "I've got your back." She nodded, exhaling slowly. "Likewise. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to finalize the schedule for tomorrow's catering run, but feel free to walk around, talk to the staff. The more you understand my world, the easier it'll be to act like we're dating." He watched her stride away, quick and purposeful, her jacket flaring behind her. A wave of admiration washed over him. Admiration for her determination, for the empire she'd built in these stainless steel halls, and for the quiet strength he was only beginning to glimpse. He couldn't help but think that in some ways Donna was a mirror to his own drive, yet shaped by a different set of challenges. If they played this right, perhaps both of them would find more than just a ruse to fool Jessica. Stephen arrived at Donna's culinary headquarters for a second visit, this time with specific questions about her business. He felt it was crucial to deepen his knowledge if they were to pull off the appearance of a genuine couple. He brought a small notebook and, after greeting the staff, found Donna in her office, a compact room tucked away from the bustling kitchen. "Come in," she said, gesturing to a chair. The walls bore framed awards from local food critics and pictures of Donna alongside celebrity chefs. A large whiteboard dominated one side, scribbled with goals, supply lists, and upcoming events. Stephen took a seat, flipping open his notebook. "I wanted to ask a few things. How you landed your first big client, how you market your services, and maybe some personal backstory if you're comfortable sharing." Donna set aside a stack of papers. "Personal backstory, huh? You want the short version or the long version?" "Whatever you can spare," Stephen said with a small grin. "We need to be prepared if someone asks, 'How did you two get so close so fast?' I can't just shrug and say, 'Chef's magic.'" She laughed softly, leaning back in her chair. "Well, I grew up near Glendale. My father was a cook in the Marines before becoming a truck driver. My mother struggled with health issues, so from a young age, I took over the kitchen duties. That's where my love for cooking started. We didn't have much money, but we had decent, home-cooked meals." Stephen nodded, jotting down a few notes. "That's actually pretty inspiring. And the jump to a professional career in food?" Donna shrugged. "I worked at local diners and saved up enough for culinary school. After bouncing around different restaurants, I realized I preferred the creativity of catering. Every event is a different challenge." So I started Collins Gourmet Services in a shared kitchen with one assistant. Over time, we grew into this. Stephen's gaze flicked to the framed awards on the wall. It's impressive. I know how cutthroat your industry can be, especially when dealing with high-profile clients. A faint line creased her brow. Yes, and that's where Jessica came in. She saw a rising name in catering, probably thought she could buy my company for a bargain and flip it for profit. Donna folded her arms, her voice tinged with bitterness. She had no respect for what we do or how many people's livelihoods depend on this place. Stephen cleared his throat. I get it more than you think. My old friend Tyler once tried to corner me into a risky partnership before. Well, he ended up with Jessica instead. Donna's eyes softened. At least something good came out of that. You didn't end up entangled with two people who clearly didn't have your back. He exhaled, pushing away the sharp twinge of memory. True, but it still stings. For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, the hum of the air conditioner filling the background. Donna looked at his notebook. Anything else you need to know for our charade? Stephen tapped his pen on the page. Maybe some details about your hobbies outside work. You already mentioned jazz music. Anything else? People might ask how we spend our free time. She smiled. I do yoga occasionally, watch old films. I'm a sucker for detective novels. And you? He considered her question. I box twice a week. Helps relieve stress. I also read a lot, mostly tech journals, but I've been branching out lately. He managed a light chuckle. And I'm trying to learn guitar, though my progress is pretty embarrassing. Donna jotted a note on a post-it. Good to know. Maybe we can say we bond over music. I appreciate a man who can strum a tune, even poorly. Stephen gave a mock look of offense. Ouch! Their shared laughter dissolved any lingering tension. The dynamic felt genuine, which was odd given the circumstances. Part of Stephen suspected this wasn't all an act. He actually found Donna's company enjoyable, and he looked forward to these planning sessions. She rose and grabbed a folder from a nearby filing cabinet. One last thing. I've got some pictures from events we can stage as photos of dates. If you want to show them on your phone at the wedding, it might help sell the story. Stephen stood and stepped closer to see them. They sifted through snapshots of Donna at various venues, a rooftop party, a garden reception, a corporate luncheon. In some photos, she posed with clients or her staff. We can Photoshop you into a couple of these, just enough to make it look convincing, he nodded. That could work. I'll have one of my graphic designers handle it discreetly. Donna handed him the folder. Take whatever you need. Just let me approve the final images before you show them to anyone. Stephen promised he would. He found himself gazing at her for a moment longer than intended, taking in the resolute set of her shoulders and the warmth in her eyes. It occurred to him that every conversation peeled back another layer of who Donna Collins really was. He tried not to read too much into that. They had a mission, and they needed clarity. Yet as he thanked her and left the office, he couldn't ignore a subtle stirring in his chest, an optimism that went beyond revenge or business deals. Maybe, just maybe, something genuine was unfolding in the midst of this elaborate pretense. Late one evening, after their joint practice sessions had become a regular routine, Stephen invited Donna to his penthouse in Beverly Hills. They planned to refine their story one last time before the wedding weekend. Lucas was also coming by, having offered to play the role of questioning friend to help them rehearse potential confrontations. When Donna arrived, she looked around, taking in the sophisticated lines of Stephen's penthouse. The walls displayed modern art, and the furniture was minimalist yet inviting. Feels different at night, she commented as he ushered her inside. During the day, your place feels stark. Now, the city lights make it feel cozy. He offered a smile. I guess it's all about perspective. Glad you like it. Lucas showed up soon after, carrying a laptop bag. "Hey, I brought a surprise," he announced, setting his bag on the kitchen island. "We can do a little role-play scenario with some interactive slides I prepared. Think of it as practicing your big performance." Donna raised an eyebrow. "You really went above and beyond." Lucas grinned, flipping open his laptop. "If we're doing this, might as well do it right. I'll act like someone at the wedding, maybe a nosy relative or an inquisitive old friend, and you two respond. It'll help you sharpen your story." Stephen grabbed a couple of sodas from the fridge while Donna settled on a bar stool. The city skyline gleamed through the massive windows, a silent reminder of just how close the wedding day was. When Lucas launched the makeshift slideshow, the first slide read, "Aunt Margaret, overly curious and slightly judgmental." "Let's begin," Lucas said, affecting a higher-pitched voice that made Donna stifle a laugh. "So, how long have you two been together, dear?" he asked, eyes darting between them. Donna cleared her throat, sliding naturally into her role. "We met about a month ago, at the Redwood Bistro, actually. We kept it quiet at first, just to see where things would go." Lucas nodded skeptically, as Aunt Margaret might. "A month? That's not very long. Are you sure you know enough about each other?" Stephen shrugged casually. "We connected quickly. Sometimes you meet someone and feel comfortable right away. We both have demanding careers, so we bonded over that. It's refreshing." They proceeded through various scenarios: a snarky cousin, a competitive old classmate, a suspicious colleague from Stephen's tech circle. Each time, Donna and Stephen refined their answers, supporting each other's statements, adding the right details. Lucas occasionally paused the role-play to offer suggestions like, "Donna, maybe emphasize how you respect Stephen's drive," or "Stephen, slip in a personal anecdote about Donna's cooking style." They rehearsed for nearly an hour, practicing everything from comedic banter to casual displays of affection. Although the latter made them both a bit self-conscious, Donna linked her arm through Stephen's with surprising ease. "We have to look natural at the wedding," she said with a playful shrug. When they finished, Lucas closed his laptop, smiling widely. "You two are getting good at this. Another day or two, and you'll fool even the biggest gossip." Stephen felt a sense of accomplishment. "Thanks, Lucas. Couldn't have done it without you." Donna nodded. "Seriously, you've been a huge help. And it's nice to see Stephen has friends who genuinely support him." Lucas grinned, rubbing his neck sheepishly. "He's been there for me, too. I just want to make sure this plan doesn't blow up in anyone's face. I'm not too keen on Jessica, but I also don't want either of you to get hurt." Donna's gaze flicked to Stephen momentarily. "We're in agreement on that. The goal is to show a united front, expose any shady moves if needed, and walk away unscathed." Stephen exhaled, a wave of tension washing from his shoulders. "That's the plan, at least." They chatted a bit more about last-minute details, like how Donna might handle tough business questions from Jessica's associates. Then Lucas decided to head out, leaving the pair in the quiet glow of the penthouse's ambient lighting. Donna wandered over to the window, gazing at the city below. "I didn't think I'd ever be preparing for something like this," she said softly, "but I'm oddly grateful. It's given me clarity about my own issues with Jessica." Stephen stood beside her, taking in the same view. "Same here. Feels like I'm finally doing something instead of just brooding over the past." She turned toward him, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. "I know it's all pretend, but I appreciate that you've treated me with respect through this. If we do pull this off, we'll owe ourselves a toast." He managed a small grin. "Let's plan on it." For a moment, they simply stood there, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Stephen felt the lines between pretense and reality blur. He wondered if Donna sensed it too. She let out a quiet breath, then glanced at her watch. "I should go." Early morning meeting with a potential new client, but call me if anything changes. Will do, he replied. As she headed to the door, he couldn't help but feel a pang of anticipation. The wedding loomed, and with it, a confrontation that might redefine everything, for better or worse. On a crisp Saturday afternoon, Stephen and Donna found themselves at a charity fundraising event in Beverly Hills, an elegant affair that attracted business moguls and socialites alike. They decided to attend together to test their public chemistry before the wedding. The venue was a sprawling mansion with manicured gardens, marble statues, and valet attendants lined up along the driveway. Donna wore a midnight blue cocktail dress, her hair swept into a loose updo. Stephen, in a tailored dark suit, guided her through the mingling guests. Small string lights twinkled overhead, and the murmur of conversation filled the air. They held each other's arm in a familiar way, occasionally exchanging whispers about this or that piece of artwork on display. Toward the back of the garden, near a bar set up with crystal decanters, they spotted an all-too-familiar face, Jessica Bennett, accompanied by Tyler Davis. The couple appeared to be in a lively conversation with two other guests, but Jessica's gaze flicked over to Stephen and Donna. A momentary flicker of recognition crossed her eyes, followed by a polite, practiced smile. "Look who decided to come out," Jessica said, approaching them with a champagne flute in hand. Tyler trailed behind, his expression guarded. "Stephen, I'm so glad you're here. I didn't realize you'd be attending this fundraiser." Stephen gripped Donna's arm a little tighter. "Thought we'd support a good cause." "Jessica, Tyler, this is Donna Collins." Donna extended a gracious hand. "Pleasure to meet you." Tyler managed a tight smile, shaking her hand. "Likewise. Stephen, how have you been? Heard your company's product launch was a success." Stephen nodded coolly. "We've had a good quarter. And you?" Tyler gave a non-committal shrug. "Busy planning the wedding, of course. It's been eventful." Jessica's eyes narrowed slightly as she studied Donna. "I think I recognize you. Didn't we have a meeting once about some business proposal?" Donna kept her expression neutral, though Stephen felt the tension in her posture. "Yes, we spoke a while back regarding catering options." Jessica's lips curved in a way that felt more like a challenge than a smile. "Right. Well, it didn't work out, but no hard feelings. Still, I'm surprised to see you two together." "Quite the coincidence." Donna met her stare calmly. "Life is full of coincidences." "But I'd say it's more of a happy accident." Jessica's gaze flicked to Stephen. "Indeed. So are you two?" Stephen answered smoothly. "We've been seeing each other. We wanted to support the charity tonight as a couple." Tyler cleared his throat. "That's great. I mean, it's good you've moved on. We all have." His discomfort was evident, and the glances he exchanged with Jessica suggested he was unsure how to navigate the tension. Stephen nodded. "Life does go on." "Glad to see you both well." He motioned toward the archway leading to a quieter section of the garden. "We should probably keep circulating. Nice chatting with you." As soon as they were out of earshot, Donna let out a low breath. "That was intense. Did you see the look she gave me?" Stephen sighed. "I did. She's sizing you up, trying to figure out what our connection is. And Tyler, he seems rattled." Donna's shoulders relaxed slightly. "We handled it, though." We played the part. They wandered deeper into the garden, pausing by a fountain surrounded by rose bushes. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, bringing a momentary respite from the tension. Stephen looked around to make sure Jessica and Tyler hadn't followed them. "That's exactly the kind of scenario we'll face at the wedding." Donna nodded, glancing back at the elegant crowd. "Good practice, I suppose. But I have a feeling Jessica won't let things go so easily." Before Stephen could respond, a voice called out behind them, "Stephen, Donna, there you are." It was Lucas, dressed in a sharp blazer. He hurried over with a glass in his hand. "I saw Jessica talking to you. Everything okay?" Stephen forced a casual shrug. "We survived. She's definitely suspicious, though." Lucas glanced over his shoulder. "No doubt. She gave me the phoniest smile earlier when I said hello. You two need to watch your backs. She's the type who thrives on controlling the narrative." Donna smoothed a hand over her dress. "We'll be prepared. I'm not letting her intimidate me." Lucas took a sip of his drink. "Just be careful. This event is public, but the wedding will be more contained. Jessica can manipulate things more easily on her turf." Stephen pursed his lips, a familiar pang of anxiety twinging in his chest. "We'll handle it. We've come this far." They spent the remainder of the fundraiser maintaining a cordial presence, mingling with a few acquaintances, smiling for photos when asked. All the while, Jessica and Tyler occasionally appeared at the edges of their vision like looming shadows. At one point, Stephen noticed Jessica whispering something to a well-dressed couple who then glanced curiously toward him and Donna. The scrutiny felt unsettling, but Stephen clung to the plan. As the event wound down, they said their goodbyes, stepping into the cool Beverly Hills night. Outside, cars were lining up with valets opening doors for guests. Donna and Stephen stood close, exhaling relief as they got into his car. Once the doors closed, she looked at him with determination. "I can see how far Jessica will go to keep her image spotless," Donna said. "She's not above spreading rumors or planting doubts about us." "We need to be ready." Stephen gripped the steering wheel. "We will be one encounter down, one to go, the big one." Donna stared out the window at the mansion fading behind them, her voice resolute. "And when that day comes, we'll make sure she learns she can't push us around. I'm done letting her think she's untouchable." Stephen glanced over, appreciating the fierceness in her tone. The wedding was just around the corner, and the tension only grew. But for the first time, he felt more excitement than dread. They had tested their facade in public, and it held. Now, it was only a matter of time before the final confrontation with Jessica would decide whose story truly prevailed. Stephen parked his car outside a boutique hotel near downtown Los Angeles, checking the address Donna had texted him. She'd arranged a private tasting event for prospective clients, and she wanted him to observe, another chance to refine their teamwork and to see how she navigated tense situations. He slipped into the lobby, greeted by the warm glow of chandeliers reflecting off polished marble floors. Donna stood at the far end of the lounge, in her chef's jacket, scanning a sheet of paper. Near her, a row of carefully arranged appetizers shimmered under soft lighting. Each plate looked like a tiny masterpiece, vibrant sauces dotted around bite-sized canapes, fresh herbs placed with microscopic precision. Despite the bustle of staff bustling in and out, she maintained a calm focus. Spotting Stephen, she offered a small wave. "You made it," she said, stepping aside to let a server pass. "I'm juggling 1,000 details, but I'm glad you're here." He moved closer, lowering his voice to keep the conversation private. "Just tell me how I can help, or if you want me to stay out of the way, that's fine too," she chuckled, adjusting her sleeves. "Mostly I want you to see how I handle clients. In the next hour, investors, event planners, and a couple of critics are going to taste these dishes. I can't afford any mistakes. My reputation is on the line." Stephen glanced at the meticulously laid out plates. "You've got this. Every time I watch you work, it's clear you know exactly what you're doing." Donna's expression softened for a moment. "I appreciate that. But you know how big this could be. If we land these new clients, it'll be a huge boost to my business. More recognition, more clout, more leverage, especially when dealing with people like Jessica." He nodded. "And what about me? Should I act like the supportive boyfriend in front of them?" "Let's keep it subtle," she said. If they ask, you're someone I'm dating who also happens to be in tech. No need to bring up the wedding or Jessica unless absolutely necessary. Soon, a small group trickled in, dressed in designer suits and elegant cocktail dresses. One by one, they approached the tasting table, sampling delicacies Donna's team presented. Stephen watched the way Donna spoke confidently about each dish's inspiration: citrus-infused salmon on brioche, miniature mushroom tartlets with a hint of truffle, grilled peach bruschetta drizzled with balsamic glaze. She was equal parts artist and entrepreneur, her hands moving gracefully as she gestured toward her creations. A tall man with salt and pepper hair introduced himself as Frederick Nash, an investor in upscale restaurants. "You must be Donna Collins," he said, his tone appraising. "I've heard whispers of your excellent catering. So far, I'm impressed." Donna extended a hand. "Frederick, it's a pleasure. I hope the tasting lives up to your expectations." Frederick took a slow bite of a salmon canapé, nodding appreciatively. "Exquisite flavor balance. The marinade is unique. I use a special blend of herbs imported from a small farm in Oregon," she explained with a professional smile. Stephen hovered nearby, ready to chime in if the conversation shifted to business expansions or collaborations. When Frederick asked how Donna planned to scale her operation to handle bigger events, Stephen casually slipped into the dialogue, mentioning that he'd seen her facilities and was amazed at the efficiency of her team. Frederick seemed intrigued, scribbling notes in a small leather notebook. As the hour rolled on, a few more prospective clients arrived, each posing new questions about pricing, about custom menus, about possible partnerships with luxury hotels. Donna tackled each inquiry deftly, occasionally glancing at Stephen for moral support. He answered when needed, drawing from what he'd learned at her facility. The synergy felt natural, as though they'd done this dance for years rather than weeks. By the end of the tasting, a faint sheen of perspiration glistened on Donna's brow, but her smile remained steady. She excused herself to finalize details with the hotel manager, leaving Stephen to mingle with the guests. A short, sharp-featured woman wearing a tailored suit approached him, scanning the space with keen eyes. Her name tag read Carolyn Ford, Events Coordinator. "You and Miss Collins work well together," Carolyn observed. "Have you known each other long?" Stephen offered a warm, practiced smile. "Not as long as you might think, but we clicked right away." Carolyn's gaze narrowed with curiosity. "So, you're a business partner, or—" He forced a light laugh. "I'm more of a personal supporter, but I understand her business pretty well. She's brilliant at what she does, which is why I'm here helping." Carolyn nodded, seemingly satisfied. "I'll be sure to follow up with her. Our clients demand top-notch service, and from what I see, she delivers." Once Carolyn left, Donna returned to Stephen's side, exhaling in relief. "That was intense, but I think it went well. Frederick wants to schedule a formal meeting next week, and Carolyn seems keen on recommending us to her clients." Stephen placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Small victory, right?" She smiled, letting out a breath. "Yeah, it feels like one. I needed this boost, especially with everything else going on. Thanks for being here, Stephen." He looked around at the nearly empty room, staff clearing tables in the distance. "No problem. Seeing you excel is inspiring, and it feels good to help." Donna's eyes flicked with a mix of gratitude and something deeper he couldn't quite name. He realized, with a subtle start, that these small victories, both in business and in their evolving bond, were fueling a confidence he hadn't felt since before Jessica left him. It was as though every test they faced together reminded him that life could hold promise beyond old heartbreak. 2 mornings after the tasting event, Stephen found himself pacing the pristine floors of his Beverly Hills penthouse, phone to his ear. Lucas was on the other end, relaying unsettling news about Gregory Parker, the investor with a minor stake in Stephen's tech company. "Gregory's been poking around your personal matters," Lucas said. "A friend in the finance department overheard him asking questions about your relationship with Donna." Stephen frowned, coming to a stop in front of the large window overlooking the city. Why on earth would he care about that? Lucas let out a low exhale. "He's always been about leverage. If he thinks you're distracted with personal drama, he might try to push through his own agenda on the board. Just watch your back." "Thanks for the heads up," Stephen muttered. "I'll handle Gregory. I don't need him stirring the pot." After hanging up, he quickly dialed Donna. When she answered, the noise of a bustling kitchen buzzed in the background. "Hey," he said, voice taut. "We have a problem." Donna listened quietly as he explained Gregory's potential meddling. "So this investor might be digging into my background to gain leverage against you?" she asked, her tone calm but laced with frustration. "Possibly," Stephen replied. "I want to make sure everything's in order. I trust you don't have any major skeletons in your closet, but if there's anything you want to tell me, just so I'm not blindsided, now's the time." She paused for a long moment. "There's nothing I'd categorize as a skeleton, but you already know about my issues with Jessica. I have some personal family stuff I'd rather not have broadcast, but it's nothing that could land me in legal trouble or anything like that." Stephen rubbed the back of his neck. "All right, just be prepared in case Gregory tries something. He might approach you directly." Donna's tone hardened. "If he does, he'll regret it." After hanging up, Stephen took a moment to gather himself. With the wedding looming, tension in his professional life was the last thing he needed. Still, the notion that Gregory could poke into Donna's history bothered him. He typed a quick email to his legal advisor, requesting a quiet inquiry into Gregory's activities, just in case a confrontation arose. Later that afternoon, he joined Donna at a cozy cafe near her headquarters. It was a quaint spot with brick walls and soft jazz playing overhead. He recognized some of her staff at a nearby table, sipping coffee during their break. Donna stirred her latte, her expression pensive. "All these complications, Gregory, Jessica, the wedding, I'm starting to wonder if we've bitten off more than we can chew." Stephen took a seat across from her, scanning the room to ensure they had some privacy. "We're too far in to back out now. You said it yourself. You need to confront Jessica. I need closure, or at least to show I'm not crippled by the past." He paused. "But if you're having second thoughts—" "No," she cut in gently. I never expected it to get so layered. And with Gregory snooping around, it feels like we're juggling multiple threats." He reached across the table to take her hand, a gesture that felt surprisingly natural. "Look, we'll deal with him. As for Jessica, she won't stand a chance if we stay united." Donna squeezed his hand briefly before pulling away. "You're right. We've come this far." They spent the rest of the coffee break discussing final details for the wedding. Donna mentioned she'd found an elegant evening gown in a deep emerald shade that complemented her eyes. Stephen told her he planned to wear a classic black tux. They agreed to meet a few days before the event to polish any last-minute details. As the conversation shifted to lighter topics, Donna's new catering client, Stephen's attempts at guitar practice, he felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. This wasn't the forced small talk of business associates. It felt more intimate, like they were truly getting to know each other. He tried to remind himself it was all part of the act, but a nagging voice in his mind whispered that it was becoming real. When they finally rose to leave, Donna spotted Jimmy and waved him over. "Mind if we walk back to the kitchen with you?" she asked. Jimmy shrugged, smiling. "Sure, but let me guess, you two are discussing that wedding again?" Stephen nodded. "We are. I suppose we'll keep discussing it until we pull it off." Jimmy's gaze flicked between them, and he offered an encouraging grin. "Well, you both seem determined, and I'm rooting for you. To be honest, I've never liked Jessica or her crowd. Anyone who tries to buy another person's dream without respect doesn't deserve to succeed." They exited the cafe into the early evening light, the sky streaked with pink and orange. Something about Jimmy's offhand remark struck a chord in Stephen. He looked at Donna, thinking of how she'd built her business from scratch and how close Jessica had come to snatching it. His own heartbreak felt small by comparison. Yet heartbreak and betrayal were heartbreak and betrayal. Jessica had left scars on them both. If there was any silver lining, it was that they'd found each other amid the turmoil. Maybe, just maybe, they could transform this orchestrated partnership into something that truly helped them heal their hidden wounds. Stephen wasn't entirely surprised when Gregory Parker turned up at his office unannounced the next morning. What did surprise him was the smug look on Gregory's face as he sauntered in. Gregory, dressed in an immaculate pinstripe suit, paused by the glass wall overlooking the bustling downtown skyline. "We need to talk," Gregory said, a trace of triumph in his voice. Stephen remained seated behind his modern wooden desk. "I'm listening." Gregory tossed a slim folder onto the desk. "I have concerns about your personal entanglements. Rumor has it you're wrapped up in some scheme involving a caterer, Donna Collins, if I'm not mistaken." Stephen's face remained impassive, though his pulse quickened. "My personal life is none of your concern, Gregory, unless it affects the company. So enlighten me. How does this so-called entanglement affect our bottom line?" Gregory shrugged, sliding his hands into his pockets. "I've heard whispers that you're spending a lot of time on this wedding fiasco. Meanwhile, we have pressing deadlines. If we miss these windows, investors, myself included, lose confidence. And confidence, Stephen, is everything in this business." Stephen opened the folder, glancing at vague references to restaurant reviews, pictures of Donna's events, and a snippet from a local gossip column mentioning him at a Beverly Hills fundraiser with a stunning brunette chef. Gregory had clearly been digging. He pushed the folder aside. "You wasted your time collecting this. My work performance remains impeccable. Our product roadmap is on schedule. The next version of our software is set for release next quarter, and we're within budget. So what's your angle?" Gregory tilted his head, eyes gleaming. "Perhaps I want reassurance. If you're distracted by personal vendettas, it jeopardizes my investment. I might consider pulling out if I see signs of instability." Stephen stiffened. "You're one of many minority shareholders. You threaten to pull funding. We can buy you out. Is that what you want?" A moment of silence lingered. Gregory blinked, then let out a clipped laugh. "You've changed, Stephen. Used to be more agreeable." Stephen rose from his chair, meeting Gregory's gaze without flinching. "I'm not here to please you. I'm here to run a successful company. My personal life is separate. Now, unless you have legitimate business concerns, I'd like you to leave." Gregory's lips thinned. "Just remember, the board is watching. If you make a spectacle of yourself at this wedding, it'll reflect poorly. A scandal could hurt our stock prices." Stephen clenched his jaw. "I'll keep that in mind." After Gregory left, tension coiled in Stephen's chest. He grabbed his phone and sent a quick text to Donna. "Gregory just confronted me. Be careful. He's trying to stir trouble." Donna's reply came a minute later. "Thanks for the warning. I won't let him intimidate me." Despite her confidence, Stephen couldn't shake the feeling that Gregory's presence foreshadowed a deeper conflict. Not only did they have to face Jessica at the wedding, but they also had to deal with Gregory's potential sabotage. That evening, he headed home early, hoping to clear his head before finalizing wedding preparations. He found himself restlessly pacing the penthouse again, pictures of him with colleagues, old awards, and mementos from long work trips seemed to stare back at him, a silent testament to his carefully curated life. If this elaborate plan with Donna failed, he risked more than just personal embarrassment. He risked his business reputation, a fact that Gregory seemed eager to exploit. His phone rang. It was Lucas. "Heard about Gregory," Lucas said, voice laced with concern. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Stephen replied curtly, "just frustrated. He's looking for dirt on Donna, me, anything he can use." Lucas hesitated before responding. "You know, we still have an out. You could skip the wedding, find a reason not to attend." Stephen exhaled, frustration simmering. "I've thought about that, but it means Jessica wins again. I'm tired of her overshadowing my life. I want closure, and Donna deserves to expose Jessica's fraud. We're moving forward." "All right," Lucas replied quietly. "Just promise me you'll keep your head level. Don't play into their hands." After hanging up, Stephen tried to distract himself by working through the new product's code structure. But every line of script blurred into thoughts of Jessica, Tyler, Gregory, and Donna. He needed a plan to ensure the wedding confrontation didn't spiral out of control. The stakes felt suddenly higher than ever. He rummaged through a drawer in search of some old notebooks, eventually finding a battered spiral one labeled Ideas and Strategies. Back in his startup days, he'd jot down solutions for every hurdle. He flipped through pages scrawled with half-forgotten notes about venture capital pitches and expansions. A wave of nostalgia washed over him. Things had been simpler, even when they were chaotic. He found a blank page near the end and scribbled, "Wedding strategy, possible pitfalls." Underlined points followed. 1. Jessica's reaction, could try to publicly humiliate him or Donna. 2. Gregory's interference, might feed any scandal to the board. 3. Donna's goals, expose Jessica's previous fraudulent attempts without damaging her own reputation. 4. Emotional risk. Old feelings might resurface, fueling irrational choices. Staring at the list, he realized none of this was purely a performance anymore. It was messy, human, and downright complicated. Yet, a part of him clung to the conviction that forging ahead was the only way to finally break free from the past. The next day, Stephen and Donna met for a quiet dinner at a modest Italian restaurant in West Hollywood. Soft violin music filled the rustic space as waiters in crisp black uniforms glided between tables. They chose a dim corner booth for privacy, and a gentle lamp illuminated their faces. "We need to talk strategy," Stephen said, swirling the wine in his glass. "The wedding is just around the corner, and Gregory's hovering like a vulture. We can't afford slip-ups." Donna lifted a forkful of pasta, taking a moment to savor it before replying. "Agreed. I've been thinking about how we might handle Jessica's reaction if we confront her. We need solid proof of her shady dealings before we accuse her publicly." Stephen nodded. "Lucas and Jimmy have been gathering any records they can find. Emails, witness statements from people Jessica tried to scam. We plan to compile it into a dossier you can use at the right moment." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Donna's features. And what exactly is the right moment? During the ceremony, the reception? "It feels invasive, even if she deserves it," Stephen sighed, pushing his plate aside. "I know, but if we do it too late, we might lose the element of surprise. We should wait until she's already sealed the deal with Tyler. If we do it beforehand, she'll just call off the wedding or spin it to her advantage." Donna chewed thoughtfully, eyes drifting to the flickering candle between them. "I see your point, but I don't want to ruin Tyler's life unnecessarily. He may be complicit, or he may just be clueless. Do you think he knows what Jessica's been up to?" Stephen hesitated. "Hard to say. Tyler used to be my friend, but he changed once he got close to Jessica. Maybe it's love, maybe it's greed. Either way, He's never tried to make amends with me." Donna's eyes softened with empathy. "I'm sorry you lost a friend that way. It must have been painful." He gave a tight shrug. "It was. But it's in the past. Mostly. Let's focus on the present. We expose Jessica's scams, and hopefully we prevent future victims." He paused. "That's your main goal too, right?" She nodded, leaning closer. "Yes, I want to protect others from her tactics, and I want to ensure she can't threaten my business again." Donna broke off, then said quietly, "But there's something else. I think I'm also looking for closure. My own kind of justice. I worked so hard to build Colin's Gourmet Services. She tried to take it away from me without a second thought." Stephen placed a reassuring hand on hers, their gazes locking. "Then we'll make sure she can't do that to anyone else." They continued to discuss practical matters, how to coordinate their arrival, how to respond if confronted by Jessica's friends, and even small talk about what they'd do if asked to dance. The conversation veered between intense strategy and light-hearted speculation. Now and then, they laughed at the absurdity of staging a faux relationship for such high stakes. After the plates were cleared, Donna toyed with the edge of her napkin. "Stephen, there's another issue. Our relationship. It's starting to feel less like an act, at least for me. Are we treading dangerous ground here?" He swallowed, his heartbeat picking up. "I've felt it too." His voice was quiet. "Maybe the lines have blurred. I'm not sure what to call this." She looked at him with a vulnerable expression he hadn't seen before. "We could walk away after the wedding, no strings attached. Or we could—" She let the sentence trail, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. He let out a slow breath. "Let's not decide that now. We have enough on our plate. After the wedding, we'll see how we feel, once Jessica's out of the picture." "Deal." Donna hesitated, then nodded. "Deal." They paid the bill and stepped out onto the sidewalk. The night air was cool, and the bustling energy of West Hollywood surrounded them, couples strolling arm in arm, distant music pulsing from a nearby lounge. She slipped her arm through his, in a gesture that felt both practiced and completely natural. As they walked toward his car, he felt a calm sense of unity. In the face of looming challenges, Jessica's wedding, Gregory's schemes, they were forging a partnership that felt more genuine with each passing day. For now, they'd focus on their shared goal, to stand firm against deception. And maybe, just maybe, they'd discover something real in the process. The following week passed in a whirlwind of final preparations. The wedding date loomed like an approaching storm on the horizon, each day bringing fresh reminders of the ticking clock. Stephen found himself fielding last-minute calls from Lucas, who reported on new evidence about Jessica's under-the-table deals. Meanwhile, Donna juggled her catering events while coordinating the final touches on her wedding ensemble. One late afternoon, they convened in Donna's office. The usually bustling headquarters felt subdued as most of the staff had gone home. A scattered array of documents, spreadsheets, and printed emails lay across a wide table, everything they had on Jessica. Donna tapped a finger on one particularly incriminating email, the subject line referencing a side agreement to overcharge a client. "This is significant," she noted. "It shows she was colluding with a venue manager to inflate costs and pocket the difference. If we reveal this at the wedding, it'll be hard for her to deny she's scammed people." Stephen nodded, carefully adding the printout to a neat folder. "We'll keep that in the front." Lucas also found 3 more testimonies from people she tried to rip off, one in San Diego, another in Orange County, and a third in Sacramento. Donna let out a low whistle. "She's been busy, so the plan is to wait until after the ceremony, right?" "Right," Stephen confirmed. "We don't want to give her a chance to stop the wedding beforehand or paint us as the villains trying to ruin her big day." Once she's officially married Tyler, the shock will be greater, and hopefully everyone will see she's not the victim. Donna leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms, and you're ready for how Tyler might react. He could get violent or accuse you of jealousy. Stephen exhaled. Tyler's not the type to throw punches, at least the Tyler I knew. But it's been years since we were friends. He might lash out. I'm prepared to handle that. They fell silent for a moment, the weight of their plans sinking in. This wasn't just a confrontation at a casual gathering. It was an event loaded with emotions, reputations, and potentially life-changing consequences. Eventually, Donna spoke up, her tone resolute. I'll do whatever I must to protect my company and anyone else Jessica might target, but I won't stoop to her level. We present facts, we keep it civil, and we let the evidence speak for itself. Stephen nodded. Couldn't agree more. They reviewed the documents one last time, then packed them into a sleek leather portfolio. Donna set it in a locked drawer. Tomorrow, I have an event in the morning. After that, I'll pick up my dress. The wedding's the next day, so I'll meet you at your penthouse that evening, and we'll drive to the venue together. That sounds good, Stephen said softly. You have everything you need. She glanced down, hesitating. Just one thing left to figure out. How do we, as a couple, present ourselves during the ceremony? We'll likely sit together, hold hands, maybe stand close during the reception. But what if they challenge us? Ask how serious we are. He glanced at her ringless hand. Well, we're not wearing rings. That would be too much. But we could mention we're thinking about a future together. It might sound spontaneous if it comes up in conversation. She considered his words, then smiled faintly. Yes, that could work. Subtle, but believable. Stephen's phone chimed, and he glanced at the screen. A text from Gregory. Board meeting next week. Don't mess up this weekend. He clenched his jaw, showing Donna the message. She read it, her eyes flickering with annoyance. Looks like he's doubling down on his threats, she said. Stephen pocketed his phone. Let him. If we manage to expose Jessica without turning it into a scandal, he'll lose his leverage. Donna stood, smoothing her blouse. I should get going. Need to make final checks at another kitchen site. You sure you'll be okay tonight? Stephen mustered a reassuring nod. I'll be fine. I've got a few things to wrap up with Lucas. Then I'll try to get some sleep. They walked together to the entrance, the overhead lights casting long shadows on the polished floor. Before stepping out, Donna turned to him, a mix of nerves and determination in her gaze. We're really doing this, aren't we? We are, Stephen replied, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We'll face it together. She gave a small nod, then disappeared into the fading daylight. Stephen locked up behind her, the key turning in the door with a metallic click that echoed in the empty hallway. A swirl of anticipation, fear, and strange hope churned in his chest. The showdown was imminent. By this time next week, either Jessica's schemes would be laid bare before the very audience she had tried to dazzle, or Stephen and Donna's carefully woven plan would unravel under the weight of secrets and suspicions. One thing was certain, there was no going back. Sunlight flooded Stephen's penthouse on the morning of the wedding, the warm glow bouncing off the minimalist decor. His tuxedo hung from the door of his bedroom closet, perfectly tailored and carefully pressed. He stood by the large window, sipping black coffee while gazing out at the sprawl of Beverly Hills. Despite the city's usual buzz, it felt as if everything had hushed in anticipation of the day's events. He grabbed his phone to check the time, 8 a.m. The ceremony would begin late in the afternoon at a luxury estate on the outskirts of town. The plan was to pick up Donna around noon, then head to the venue together. He set the mug down, swallowing the knot of anxiety in his throat. Even with all the planning, he couldn't ignore a nagging voice inside that said this could go very wrong. His phone vibrated with a text from Lucas. "I'll be on standby if you need anything. Good luck, man," Stephen replied with a simple thanks before tossing the phone onto a nearby chair. He stepped into his bedroom to finish getting ready. The tuxedo slid on with practiced ease, each piece fitted to his athletic frame. The crisp white shirt and polished shoes lent him an air of calm authority, even if his pulse told another story. By 11:30, he was pulling into the driveway of Donna's downtown loft-style apartment building. She'd chosen this place for its proximity to her culinary headquarters. The building's brick facade and oversized windows contrasted sharply with the gleaming tower blocks nearby. When he reached her door, it opened to reveal Donna in a long, emerald-green gown that accentuated her figure. Her dark hair was pinned up, and tiny silver earrings caught the light. "You look incredible," Stephen said, momentarily losing the composure he'd practiced. Donna smiled, smoothing an invisible wrinkle on the gown's bodice. "Thank you. You look quite sharp yourself." He helped her gather a small clutch containing essentials, phone, lipstick, and, most importantly, the leather portfolio with their evidence against Jessica. Once they were in his car, a quiet tension settled over them. Neither spoke for several minutes, content to let the hum of traffic fill the silence. As they approached the outskirts of Beverly Hills, wide roads lined with palm trees gave way to winding streets flanked by tall hedges and mansions hidden behind iron gates. Finally, Donna broke the stillness. "How are you feeling?" Stephen exhaled slowly. "Like I'm about to walk into a battlefield, but having you here makes me feel prepared." She reached over and gave his hand a squeeze. "We've got each other's backs. Let's just stick to the plan." They arrived at the estate, a sprawling property with manicured lawns, marble fountains, and an opulent main house sporting tall pillars. Uniformed valets directed traffic, ushering luxury vehicles into a tidy row. Stephen handed over his keys, his heart pounding as they stepped onto the cobblestone walkway leading to the entrance. Soft classical music flowed through the open doors, and inside, clusters of well-dressed guests mingled over champagne. Stephen felt the weight of curious eyes upon them. Word had spread that he would be attending, perhaps with a new partner. Jessica's crowd, many of whom Stephen once called acquaintances, now seemed to observe him and Donna like spectators at a play. He fought the urge to clench his jaw, instead offering Donna his arm. She looped hers through his gracefully, radiating quiet confidence. They followed a discreet usher down a long hallway that opened into a grand courtyard. Rows of white chairs faced a floral arch where the couple would soon exchange vows. Pastel rose arrangements lined each aisle, and a string quartet played gently near a stone fountain. Tyler, dressed in a tailored navy tux, stood at the far side with his groomsmen. Jessica was nowhere to be seen. She'd likely make a grand entrance later. As Stephen and Donna took their seats toward the front, a few murmurs rippled through the guests behind them. He caught snippets of conversation. "Is that Reynolds?" "He actually came." "Who's the woman with him?" Donna offered a polite smile to anyone who made eye contact. Stephen, choosing not to dwell on the whispers, squeezed her hand in silent gratitude. A moment later, he spotted Jessica's parents stepping toward them. Her father, a silver-haired man with a stern expression, nodded at Stephen. "I suppose it's nice you could make it. Jessica didn't say you'd be bringing someone, but welcome." "This is Donna Collins," Stephen said, keeping his tone respectful. "I'm happy for Jessica and Tyler." Jessica's father shifted his gaze to Donna with a faint smile. "Well, enjoy the ceremony. I'm sure Jessica will be thrilled to see you." His voice carried a note of skepticism that suggested otherwise. They moved on, and Donna leaned toward Stephen. "This is surreal. I can feel the tension in the air." He nodded, scanning the growing crowd. It's showtime. The quartet's music swelled, signaling the ceremony was about to start. Everyone hushed, taking their seats. Stephen reminded himself of the plan: keep calm, act naturally, and wait until the right moment, after Jessica and Tyler exchanged vows, to reveal everything. He glanced at Donna, grateful for her unwavering presence. Despite the sea of unfriendly faces, he felt a flicker of confidence. One way or another, the next few hours would change their lives. Soft rays of afternoon sunlight filtered through the courtyard's tall hedges as the ceremony began. A small ensemble of violins shifted from classical overtures to a delicate processional melody. Tyler stood under the floral arch with his best man, fidgeting slightly while adjusting his tie. Rows of guests turned expectantly, and soon Jessica appeared at the far end of the aisle. She wore a flowing white gown, adorned with intricate lace that glistened in the sun. Her veil trailed behind, and she clutched a bouquet of pale pink roses. Even from a distance, Stephen could see her gaze sweeping over the crowd, perhaps searching for him. When her eyes found Stephen and Donna, something flickered across her face. Surprise, perhaps, or displeasure. Then her expression smoothed into a flawless smile, as though she'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. Stephen's chest tightened. Memories of a happier time threatened to resurface, the early days when Jessica's presence lit up every room. He forced those recollections aside, focusing on Donna's reassuring hand resting on his arm. Jessica glided up the aisle, accompanied by her father, and took her place beside Tyler. A poised officiant greeted the guests and began the traditional exchange of vows. Words about love and commitment floated through the air. Stephen could practically taste the tension, wondering how many in the audience understood what Jessica might truly be capable of. He kept a careful eye on Donna, who wore a neutral expression, her fingers lightly gripping the folder hidden beneath her seat. Jessica's voice was steady and sweet as she repeated the officiant's lines. Tyler's voice, though firm, wavered just a bit when he said, "I do." Applause rippled through the courtyard as they slid matching rings onto each other's fingers. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and Jessica leaned in for a brief, expertly posed kiss. The scene was picture-perfect. Camera shutters clicked, capturing what most would assume was a fairy tale wedding. When the officiant introduced the newly married couple, they walked down the aisle hand in hand, receiving smiles and congratulations. Stephen and Donna stood, blending into the recessional line of guests moving toward the reception area. As they passed, Jessica paused, turning her attention to Stephen. Her gaze darted between him and Donna for a tense moment before her lips curled into a polite grin. "I'm glad you could make it, Stephen," she murmured, just loud enough for him to hear over the music. "And I see you brought a friend." Donna's posture stiffened, but she managed a gracious smile. "Thank you for inviting us. We wish you both happiness." Jessica's eyes flicked to the leather portfolio. She tilted her head slightly. "Interesting accessory for a wedding." "Perhaps we'll talk later." Stephen forced a casual shrug. "Maybe we will." Without another word, Jessica and Tyler continued down the path, followed by an entourage of bridesmaids and groomsmen. Once they were out of earshot, Donna exhaled. "She's onto us, isn't she?" Stephen's pulse thundered. "She suspects something. Let's not jump the gun." "We stick to the plan." They followed the crowd around the side of the estate, which opened onto a sprawling garden-turned-reception area. A grand gazebo stood at the center, surrounded by white-clothed tables arranged in precise symmetry. Servers circulated with trays of champagne. An ornate chandelier, suspended from a large oak tree, added a touch of modern elegance. Soft chatter and laughter filled the air. The wedding party made its grand entrance, toasting with flutes of bubbly. Tyler, seeming more relaxed now that the ceremony was over, clinked glasses with guests while Jessica circulated with an air of practiced charm. After a round of congratulations, the bride and groom took their seats at a lavish head table. Stephen and Donna settled at a nearby table reserved for special guests. A placard bore Stephen's name, a subtle reminder that Jessica wanted him there for a reason. Across from them sat a couple from Jessica's business circle, who introduced themselves as Kenneth and Lila Davenport. The conversation was polite, mostly about the beauty of the ceremony and the estate's grandeur. Kenneth occasionally glanced at Donna with curiosity, and Lila offered a barely concealed smirk as she probed for details about how Stephen and Donna met. Donna responded gracefully, weaving their practiced story about meeting at Redwood Bistro. Stephen backed her up with anecdotes about trying her new recipes and bonding over their mutual love of entrepreneurism. Lila's smirk softened into polite acceptance, though it was clear she remained intrigued by their sudden romance. After a few minutes, a hush fell over the crowd as Jessica stood. Dainty silverware clinked against crystal as she tapped a spoon to her champagne flute. All eyes turned to the bride, her face glowing beneath the reception's fairy lights. She gestured for Tyler to join her, and the newlyweds stood side by side, ready to address their guests. Stephen's stomach clenched. The formal toast would start now, but soon after came the first dance, the mingling, and the open mic for speeches from friends and family. That was the point they were waiting for, the moment to reveal the truth about Jessica's underhanded dealings. He braced himself, feeling the tension coil like a spring. Donna's eyes caught his, and he gave the slightest nod of encouragement. Their confrontation was about to begin. Jessica's voice rang clear as she addressed the crowd. She thanked everyone for attending and spoke in glowing terms about her love for Tyler, her excitement about building a future together, and her gratitude to all who had supported their relationship. The audience responded with approving smiles and scattered applause. Stephen watched from his table, aware of how skillfully Jessica controlled the atmosphere. Even in her white gown, with fresh roses woven into her hair, there was an underlying sharpness in her tone that he had once admired as ambition. Now, he sensed a cunning edge that had stung more than one unsuspecting victim. The toasts began in earnest. Jessica's maid of honor gushed about lifelong friendships. Tyler's best man shared college memories. Each speech ended with laughter or misty-eyed sentiment. Donna, sitting beside Stephen, kept her polite smile intact, but kept tapping her fingertips against the folder beneath the table. When the formal toasts concluded, a soft melody played, signaling the couple's first dance. Jessica and Tyler made their way to the center of the garden, under the glow of string lights. They swayed in time with the gentle rhythm, smiles plastered across their faces while photographers snapped away. The guests watched, enraptured by the fairy tale scene. Donna leaned in, whispering, "When are we?" Stephen touched her hand lightly. "After they finish, we'll let them have this moment. Then we'll decide if it's safe to approach or if we should wait for the open mic portion." A few other couples joined Jessica and Tyler on the improvised dance floor. Stephen felt eyes on him, some encouraging him to dance with Donna, others suspicious of his presence. Eventually, he mustered the courage to stand and offer Donna his hand. Her eyes flicked from the folder to the dance floor, then back to him. She nodded. They stepped into the soft glow and began to move to the music. There was a brief awkwardness, but soon they found a gentle rhythm. Donna's dress brushed against Stephen's trousers with each sway. He could feel the tension in her body, though she was trying to appear composed. As they danced, a swirl of emotions churned inside him. He glanced at the newlyweds and saw Jessica's gaze locked on him, her lips curving ever so slightly when their eyes met. Donna followed his line of sight. "She's looking at us," she murmured. Stephen's grip on her waist tightened. "She's gauging our every move. Let's not break character." Donna's expression relaxed into a soft, affectionate look, one that would read as genuine to any onlooker. "For what it's worth," she whispered, "this feels surprisingly natural." He couldn't help but smile. "It does. Just keep in mind what happens next might get ugly." The song ended, and they separated, the music shifting to a livelier tune. Some guests cheered, while others drifted to the bar or buffet. Jessica and Tyler stepped away from the dance floor, approached by a small group of well-wishers. Stephen seized the moment, guiding Donna to a quieter corner near a marble statue at the garden's edge. "We should decide how we're going to do this," he said, scanning the area for any sign of Jessica's relatives or the wedding planner. "The open mic is coming up soon. Sometimes it's reserved for close friends or family to share a few words. If we wait until then, we'll be addressing everyone publicly." Donna tapped the folder under her arm. "It'll be dramatic, for sure." "Are we certain we want to do it in front of the entire crowd?" Stephen ground his teeth. "Part of me wants to corner Jessica privately, but she's too clever. She'd twist the story or bribe someone to hush it up. Exposing her publicly ensures maximum impact, though it also risks humiliating Tyler. He might be as deceived by her as anyone." Donna's brows furrowed. "I hate hurting an innocent party, but I refuse to stand by if Tyler is enabling her knowingly." "The truth is the truth." He rested his hand on hers. "We reveal what we have, no more, no less. That's all we can do." They were about to make their way back when Jessica appeared, drifting toward them with smooth steps. She wore a curious, almost triumphant expression. "Steve and Donna, enjoying yourselves?" she asked, each word wrapped in a veneer of hospitality. "Everything's lovely," Stephen replied. "Congratulations again." Jessica's gaze fell on the leather folder. "I see you're carrying quite the accessory around. So unusual for a wedding. Something important inside." Donna's lips parted in a measured smile. "Just a few documents we need. You know how it is. Business never stops." "Ah," Jessica said, eyes narrowing slightly. "Business, of course." She let out a soft laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "Well, I do hope you both take time to unwind. Perhaps we'll catch up more thoroughly soon." She glided away, leaving the scent of expensive perfume trailing behind her. Donna released a long breath. "She definitely suspects." Stephen nodded. "We need to move soon. The open mic will start in a few minutes. Let's get into position. One way or another, we're about to make our stand." Tension crackled through the night air as the DJ announced an open mic session. Friends and relatives gathered by the gazebo, a small stage set up with a microphone and a few chairs for onlookers. Candlelit lanterns dotted the lawn, casting flickering shadows across the white tablecloths. Tyler and Jessica sat at the head table, their hands interlaced, champagne glasses waiting. A couple of guests went first, sharing humorous anecdotes or heartfelt wishes for the newlyweds. Applause followed each short speech. Donna stood at Stephen's side, her grip on the leather portfolio unwavering. With each passing second, the hum of chatter seemed to amplify the pounding in his ears. "I should go up with you," Donna whispered. "We planned this together." Stephen nodded. "All right, we'll stand together. But I'll speak first. You jump in when it's time to present the evidence." Donna took a steadying breath. "Let's do it." They walked toward the gazebo, weaving through the seated guests. Polite applause welcomed them when they stepped onto the small platform. Stephen cleared his throat, heart thumping as he faced the crowd. Dozens of eyes bore into him, some expectant, some curious, and a few suspicious, especially those loyal to Jessica. He held the microphone close, forcing a steady tone. "Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Reynolds, and this is Donna Collins. We'd like to say a few words to Jessica and Tyler on their special day." Jessica sat upright, face composed. but her knuckles whitened around her champagne flute. Tyler reached over to calm her hand, appearing uncertain. Stephen pressed on. "I've known Jessica for several years. We had our history," he said, choosing his words carefully. "But today, I came to celebrate her marriage, hoping there could be healing and honesty." A few murmurs rippled through the guests, but no one interrupted. Donna stepped forward, the folder clutched against her side. "I also crossed paths with Jessica in a business context. Unfortunately, our dealings didn't end well. I wasn't planning on bringing it up at her wedding, but certain circumstances compel me to be truthful." Jessica shot to her feet, the rustle of her wedding gown audible in the hush. Her face remained impassive except for a faint tightness around her jaw. Tyler glanced from her to Stephen, confusion etching his features. Stephen continued, voice resolute. "Jessica, I think it's time everyone knows how you conduct your business. How you've exploited partnerships and orchestrated fraudulent deals under the pretense of innocent ventures." Gasps fluttered around the garden. Some guests leaned forward, straining to catch every word, while others exchanged startled looks. Tyler stood as well, placing a hand on Jessica's shoulder. She barely acknowledged him, her attention riveted on Stephen. Donna opened the folder, producing a small stack of papers. "I have here documentation of Jessica's attempts to coerce business owners into selling their companies at suspiciously low prices. Emails that suggest collusion with event planners to inflate costs and pocket the difference. And more." Stephen motioned for Donna to pass him the top sheet. Holding it up, he addressed the crowd. "This email details a meeting between Jessica and a restaurant manager. She wanted to secure a catering contract with inflated numbers. The manager refused, threatened to go public, and conveniently found herself out of work within a week." A wave of shocked whispers rippled through the attendees. Jessica took a step forward, her voice trembling with carefully contained fury. "This is a lie, a slanderous attempt to ruin my wedding." Donna lifted another page. "Here's a similar incident involving a venue in San Diego and one in Sacramento. Tyler," she added, turning to the groom, "you deserve to know the truth. Jessica's business dealings aren't just unethical, they're illegal." Tyler's jaw tightened. "Jessica, what is this about? Did you really—" Jessica spun to face him, eyes flashing. "Of course not. It's all fabricated." She aimed a trembling finger at Stephen and Donna. "They're bitter. They want revenge. Can't stand to see me happy. This is nothing but a hateful ploy." An uncomfortable hush spread. Stephen saw wedding guests glancing at one another, uncertain whom to believe. Kenneth Davenport, seated near the front, stood up hesitantly. I've seen some questionable deals linked to Jessica as well," he admitted in a subdued tone, drawing a startled reaction from his wife. "Lila," at that, Jessica's composure splintered. "Kenneth, you don't know what you're talking about. This is a personal vendetta." Tyler ran a hand through his hair. "Jess, calm down. Maybe we should see those documents." She whirled on him. "You can't honestly believe them." Donna stepped forward, voice firm. "No one wants to ruin your wedding. We want the truth exposed. People deserve to know who they're dealing with. I've spent years building my business, and you tried to steal it using threats and fraud." "Enough is enough." An uneasy murmur spread, and some guests who had once been enraptured by the fairy tale spectacle now regarded Jessica with suspicion. The officiant exchanged worried looks with members of the wedding party. Even the string quartet fell silent. Stephen's heart hammered, yet a sense of relief flickered through him. The truth, long hidden, was finally coming to light. He glanced at Tyler, whose face showed dawning realization. The groom's gaze shifted from Jessica to the pages in Donna's hand. It was as though the perfect facade had begun to crack, unveiling a darker reality beneath the wedding finery. Jessica's breath came in quick bursts as she glared at Stephen and Donna, hands trembling around the champagne glass she still clutched. The tension was palpable, and the once lively chatter of guests had shifted to stunned silence. Tyler, caught in the middle, stared at the damning papers as if they were venomous. At last, Tyler tore his gaze from the documents to look at his new wife. "Jess, is there any truth to this?" His voice was subdued but urgent. She snapped her head around, the pristine veil trailing behind her. "How can you even ask? We've just been married, and you're going to trust them over me?" An older relative from Jessica's side stood up, adjusting his tie nervously. "Jessica, we can't ignore these claims if there's evidence. Maybe there's been some misunderstanding. Let's settle it calmly." Donna stepped forward, lowering her voice to a level that carried only the weight of truth. "We're not here to humiliate you, but multiple people have come forward with consistent accounts of fraud. I have no desire to see your marriage crumble, but I won't stand by while you continue these schemes." Jessica spun, pinning Donna with a furious glare. "I gave you an offer to buy your company. That's not a crime." Donna held her ground. "The threats you made when I refused and the fabricated rumors you tried to spread, those crossed the line." A few gasps rippled through the crowd. Some guests stepped closer, forming a semicircle around the stage area. Stephen noticed Kenneth Davenport exchange uneasy looks with his wife, as if silently confirming they had also seen red flags in Jessica's dealings. Stephen decided to address Tyler directly. "I hate that this is happening on your wedding day, but if you really didn't know, then I'm sorry for the shock. I was your friend once. I hoped you'd find genuine happiness, but it looks like you've been deceived as well." Tyler's frustration erupted. "You're telling me you did all this for my good. You couldn't have pulled me aside privately." Donna lifted the folder again. "We considered that, but Jessica would have used the same threats she used on others, discrediting us, calling it lies. We had to show everyone at once." Jessica let out a scornful laugh. "And you expect everyone to believe you simply because you wave around a few emails. This is slanderous." Kenneth Davenport found his voice once more. "Jessica, it's not just them. I saw the inflated invoices you pushed my way. You convinced me to pay double for a service and pocketed the difference. I should never have agreed, but you made it seem beneficial." He turned to the stunned guests, voice full of regret. "I'm sorry I enabled it. I let greed get the better of me." A fresh wave of gasps and murmurs rippled across the lawn. Jessica's face contorted with anger. She lifted her champagne flute and hurled it to the ground, shattering glass across the stone path. Several guests recoiled, and Tyler instinctively stepped back. "Enough!" Jessica screamed, tears brimming in her eyes but never spilling. "All of you are against me, is that it?" Donna drew a breath, calmer than she felt. "People aren't against you, Jessica. They're against your methods." Silence stretched, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves in the garden. Tyler shifted his weight, torn between shock and defensiveness. His gaze flicked to Stephen. "So now what? You've ruined our wedding. You've exposed these allegations. Where does this leave me and Jessica?" Stephen's heart twisted at the pained expression on Tyler's face. Despite everything, they had once been close. "I can't answer that for you," he said quietly. "But if these allegations are addressed, maybe there's a chance to move forward, legally, morally." Jessica's father approached, his face ashen. "Jessica, for the love of God, say something. If there's any misunderstanding, we can fix it." She shook her head fiercely. "No, I know exactly what you all are doing. You want to tear me down? Well, I won't let you." She glanced around wildly, as if searching for an escape. "I'm leaving." I refuse to stand here and be railroaded by you, by any of you. Tyler grabbed her wrist. Wait, we need to talk this through. Jessica wrenched free, turning a seething gaze on Stephen and Donna one last time. Congratulations. You've made your point, but this isn't over. With that, she stormed off, her dress swirling behind her like a furious cloud of white satin. Tyler hesitated, casting a stricken look at the gathered guests. Several of Jessica's relatives followed, while others hung back, whispering in uneasy clusters. The once celebratory atmosphere had turned into a place of unresolved tension and uncomfortable revelations. Donna tucked the documents back into the folder, her emotions in turmoil. Stephen looked around, meeting the stunned gazes of friends and strangers. It was over, yet not entirely. Jessica's final words lingered like an ominous echo. What came next was uncertain. Legal battles, perhaps, or attempts at damage control. For now, though, the truth had been set free under the glow of the wedding lights. The perfect facade was shattered. Stephen tightened his hold on Donna's hand. Amid the shock and confusion, a sense of strange relief pulsed through him. They had done what they came to do, despite the emotional wreckage left in its wake. The chandeliers still gleamed, and the garden lights continued to twinkle as if unaware that the wedding reception had imploded. Guests were scattered in uneven clusters across the ornate lawn, whispering and glancing furtively at the head table now empty of bride and groom. The floral arch remained standing, a silent testament to a ceremony that had seemed perfect only hours ago. Stephen lingered at the edge of the makeshift dance floor, Donna at his side. The cool night air carried the scent of roses, but the once celebratory fragrance now felt tinged with tension. A trio of Jessica's distant relatives drifted by, offering uneasy nods, uncertain whether to voice approval or condemnation. Stephen returned their stares with calm reserve, unsure how to interpret their expressions. Donna tucked the incriminating documents into the leather folder again. Her shoulders, once rigid with purpose, now sagged with exhaustion. "I can't tell if we did the right thing," she whispered. "Seeing it play out this way, no matter how justified, it's hard to watch." Stephen reached for her hand. Exposing the truth is rarely pretty, but it had to happen. He scanned the area, catching sight of Tyler's best man, who stood talking with a small group of groomsmen, all of them visibly shaken. A few moments later, Lucas appeared, weaving through the maze of tables. He wore a concerned expression. "I saw Jessica storm off," he said quietly. "Heard bits and pieces from the crowd. Are you two all right?" "As all right as we can be," Stephen replied. "I feel relieved and guilty at the same time." Lucas nodded. "Sometimes those emotions go hand in hand. Look, a few guests asked me if what you said was really true. I told them to trust the documentation. Some appear convinced, others think you crashed the wedding to exact revenge." "Emotions are running high." Donna pressed her lips into a thin line. "I understand their reactions, but we've got corroborating evidence. If Jessica tries any legal stunts or defamation charges, we'll be ready." Stephen glanced around, feeling a wave of pity for those who had come to celebrate a love story and found themselves thrust into a scandal. Table centerpieces of pastel roses and floating candles still flickered, giving the night an almost surreal beauty that clashed with the messy reality of the situation. He spotted Tyler near a row of towering hedges at the garden's perimeter. The groom's posture spoke of confusion and disillusionment. Without a word, Stephen felt compelled to approach. Donna followed, her hand slipping from his as they neared Tyler to give him some space. "Tyler?" Stephen began softly, not wanting to startle him. Tyler turned, his eyes raw. His tuxedo jacket hung open, tie askew. "So it's all true?" he asked in a hollow tone. "She's really been running these cons behind my back." Stephen exhaled. "From everything we've found, Yes, I wouldn't have come here if I wasn't certain. Tyler shut his eyes tight, a tremor running through him. I've been so blind. I knew Jessica could be controlling. But I ignored the warning signs. I wanted to believe we had a real future. Donna stood a step behind Stephen, speaking gently. I'm sorry this is how you found out. I really am. A bitter laugh escaped Tyler's lips. I thought maybe the wedding stress had made her edgy, but I guess it was bigger than that. He rubbed his temples, looking at Stephen. For what it's worth, I don't hate you for telling me now. I just wish you had come to me sooner. Stephen hesitated, memories of their once friendship knotting his words. I wasn't sure if you'd even listen. We haven't been close in years, Tyler, and she was good at twisting the narrative. Tyler nodded, then cast his gaze at the throng of guests who were now slowly trickling out. I need some space. I'm not sure what comes next. I can't face all these people right now. Stephen placed a hand on his former friend's shoulder. Take whatever time you need, but please, don't bury this. It's better faced head-on. Without another word, Tyler slipped away, heading toward the side entrance of the estate. Stephen watched him go, a mix of pity and regret welling in his chest. It was difficult not to remember the simpler times they'd shared, college jokes, late-night brainstorming sessions. Now they stood on opposite sides of a painful truth. Donna moved closer, her voice quiet. Do you think he'll be okay? I hope so, Stephen replied, turning back toward the main reception area. A few guests tried to salvage the celebration, sipping champagne and picking at the gourmet buffet. An awkward hush prevailed, occasionally broken by nervous laughter. Photographers, once capturing joyous moments, now discreetly packed their equipment, sensing the event was done. Lucas gave them a small wave from a distance, silently conveying he'd cover if anyone else asked questions. Donna looped her arm through Stephen's. Should we go? He nodded, relief sliding into his weary frame. The day's intensity had drained them both. Their mission was complete, even if the aftermath remained unpredictable. As they walked toward the exit, the hush of the night wrapped around them. A single question pulsed in Stephen's mind. What now? They had done what they set out to do, exposed Jessica's wrongdoings, preventing further harm, but the finality of it all left a strange emptiness. He glanced at Donna, who seemed lost in her own thoughts. He squeezed her arm gently, and she offered a faint smile. One step at a time, they left the opulent estate behind, uncertain yet united in the knowledge that something fundamental had changed. Over the next few days, a peculiar hush settled into Stephen's life, as though the explosion at the wedding had drained all noise from the air. No massive fallout in the press, no immediate legal threats, only a thick tension that hovered over phone lines and email inboxes. He went into his downtown office early one morning, half expecting an ambush of reporters or gossip columnists. Instead, he found a subdued calm. His employees carried on with their tasks, nodding polite greetings, but keeping a careful distance. Rumors circulated softly. Some had seen the leaked photos of Jessica's meltdown. Others had heard bits of scandalous detail, but no one confronted him directly. Lucas showed up around lunchtime, offering a cautious grin. "Place is quieter than usual," he remarked, setting down a folder of design mock-ups. "Everyone's tiptoeing around, not sure how to talk to you." Stephen rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, I can sense that. I guess they're waiting to see if the board calls me in for a disciplinary chat or something." Lucas shrugged. "If Gregory Parker was going to pounce, I'd have expected him by now. Any updates from him?" "Nothing," Stephen said, a faint relief in his tone. "I half think he was banking on a bigger scandal. But we handled it, more or less, with hard evidence. The drama might be too murky for him to weaponize effectively." Lucas flipped through the design pages, then glanced at Stephen. "And how are you, really?" Stephen hesitated, recalling the wave of emotions that followed the wedding: guilt, vindication, sympathy for Tyler, and a strange sense of closure about Jessica. I feel lighter. It's not the victory I imagined. More like a necessary release of old baggage. Lucas nodded in understanding. Sometimes that's the best kind of closure. What about Donna? You two still close? Yeah, Stephen replied softly. We've talked every day. She's busy with her catering schedule, but we're planning to meet later this week. Honestly, I'm not sure what's next for us. Lucas gave him a thoughtful look. Whatever it is, I hope you give it a fair shot. You both deserve something real. After Lucas left, Stephen tried to focus on work, but his mind drifted to the memory of Donna's hand clutched in his, both of them standing under the glaring spotlight of Jessica's wedding fiasco. She had been his ally, his co-conspirator, and maybe, just maybe, something more. That evening, he met her at a small wine bar nestled in a quiet L, a neighborhood. The decor was intimate, dim lighting, dark wooden accents, and candles flickering on each table. Donna arrived wearing a casual dress, her hair down, looking less guarded than usual. They settled into a corner booth, and Stephen ordered a bottle of Merlot. How have things been on your end? He asked. Donna took a sip of water. Surprisingly calm, but I've gotten a few anonymous calls. Hang-ups mostly. Could be Jessica trying to intimidate me, or maybe just people fishing for gossip. Stephen frowned. If it escalates, we'll involve the authorities. You have enough to file a harassment complaint if needed. She nodded. I won't hesitate. My team's aware, and Jimmy has been extra vigilant about who comes near our kitchen. But so far, it's all quiet gestures, no direct threats. They paused while the waiter poured their wine. Donna studied the rich, ruby liquid swirling in the glass. I keep thinking about Tyler. He must be going through hell. Stephen sighed. He's been radio silent. I tried texting him an apology for what it's worth and offering to talk. No response. They both sipped the Merlot, the subtle warmth easing a bit of the tension coiled in their chests. Donna eventually set her glass down, meeting Stephen's gaze. Now that this is mostly behind us, maybe we can start figuring out where we stand, together. Stephen searched her face, noticing the delicate interplay of candlelight on her features. I'd like that, but I don't want to rush you. We formed this partnership under strange circumstances. Donna managed a tentative smile. Strange? Yes, but we supported each other in ways that felt real. I trust you, Stephen. A gentle warmth bloomed inside him at her words. They spent the next hour discussing small, everyday things that had nothing to do with Jessica, her new catering projects, his upcoming tech conference in San Francisco, memories of childhood and the best meals they'd ever had. Outside, night fell, the city humming with low energy. The tension that once propelled their alliance began to melt away, replaced by a quiet understanding. As they parted near the sidewalk, Donna leaned in and placed a soft kiss on Stephen's cheek. He felt a flutter of hope in his chest. Maybe they could emerge from the fiasco with something genuine, something that didn't revolve around heartbreak or revenge. He walked her to her car, the streetlights casting elongated shadows on the pavement. Neither spoke of Jessica or Tyler in those last moments. Instead, they said their goodnights with gentle smiles. As Donna's car pulled away, Stephen stood under the soft glow of a street lamp, taking a measured breath. No grand romantic gestures had passed between them, but the promise of a shared future no longer felt like a pretense. A week later, the Beverly Hills gossip machine found another scandal to latch onto. Some celebrity couple's dramatic breakup. Jessica's wedding fiasco gradually slipped from the headlines, becoming old news in a city perpetually hungry for fresh drama. For Stephen and Donna, the quieter public eye was a welcome relief. In that calm, Donna threw herself into new business ventures. She secured a high-profile catering gig for a charity gala, one promising exposure to philanthropic networks across Los Angeles. On a brisk Wednesday morning, she invited Stephen to the kitchen facility to see the preparations. He arrived to find her staff working with cheerful focus. Giant bowls of fresh produce sat on steel tables, each station humming with energy. Jimmy managed a small group of junior chefs, balancing a clipboard in one hand and tasting spoons in the other. The rich scent of simmering sauces and baking bread filled the air, reminding Stephen of the first time he'd witnessed Donna's domain. Donna emerged from the back, wearing a simple apron over her tailored jeans and t-shirt. No formal chef's jacket today. She seemed more relaxed, more at home. "Welcome," she said, waving a ladle in greeting. "We're getting ready for the gala tomorrow. Each dish has to be perfect." Stephen approached as curiosity piqued. "Anything I can do to help?" She handed him a small tasting spoon. "Try this glaze. Let me know if it's too tangy." She guided him toward a large pot, and he dipped the spoon into a thick, aromatic sauce, sampling it carefully. "It's bright, but balanced," he said. "I like it." Donna's eyes lit up. "Good. That's a Meyer lemon reduction. I worried it might overpower the fish." Their casual teamwork felt natural. As Jimmy called for more fresh herbs, Donna gave instructions to a sous chef, ensuring everything stayed on schedule. Stephen found a place in this organized chaos, labeling containers, wiping down counters, even fetching ingredients when asked. He wasn't a professional chef, but he could sense how each person's effort contributed to a collective success. During a break, they retreated to Donna's small office. She poured them glasses of iced water, leaning against her desk. "I've been thinking about expanding," she began. "Maybe opening a secondary kitchen in another part of town. That way, we can handle bigger events simultaneously." Stephen sipped his drink. "Sounds like a logical step. Do you have potential investors lined up?" Donna nodded. "A few are interested. But after the drama with Jessica, I'm cautious. I want investors who respect our vision and won't try to strong-arm me again." He set down his glass, arms crossed contemplatively. "If you're open to it, maybe I can help vet them. I know a few honest venture capitalists and philanthropic funds that might be a fit." She tilted her head. "You do that? Of course, you're running a top-notch operation, and I believe in you." The words slipped out plainly, but the conviction behind them was evident. Donna let out a quiet laugh, warmth coloring her cheeks. "You realize you're more than a pretend boyfriend now, right?" He smiled softly. "I'm starting to..." They discussed expansion plans a bit longer, tossing around ideas for marketing, potential partnerships, even the possibility of a shared philanthropic project. Donna's business provided high-quality food, while Stephen's tech connections could help with fundraising and outreach. Gradually, the conversation moved from hypothetical synergy to something they both wanted to bring to life. Jimmy poked his head in, an apologetic look on his face. "Sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to let you know we've got about an hour left before the salmon needs to be marinated." Donna stood, smoothing her apron. "Right. Thanks, Jimmy. I'll be there in a minute." Stephen pushed off from the desk. "I should let you get back to work. But think about it, if you want. We can arrange a meeting with some potential backers next week." Donna nodded. "I appreciate it. Let's do it." Then she paused, her expression softening. "Thank you, Stephen, for seeing me as more than just part of some scheme." He reached for her hand in a quick gesture of support. "We were never just a scheme. Not really." Her eyes flickered with emotion. Before either of them could say more, Jimmy called her name from the hallway. They parted with an exchange of smiles, a sense of possibility hanging in the air. Stephen strolled out of the facility, the bustle of the kitchen fading behind him. There was an undeniable synergy between them now, a blend of personal affection and professional respect. As he hopped into his car, he pictured a future where they poured their shared determination into something beyond the wedding fiasco, something that might benefit others, create new opportunities, and redeem the sour taste Jessica's betrayal had left behind. For the first time in years, he felt he was building something meaningful on a foundation of trust instead of heartbreak. A gentle breeze rustled the palm trees lining the Malibu coastline. Late afternoon sunlight bathed Stephen's beach house in a warm glow as he and Donna stepped onto the wooden deck overlooking the Pacific. Weeks had passed since Jessica's wedding unraveled, and although various rumors still surfaced occasionally, life had mostly settled into a calm rhythm. Donna leaned against the railing, her gaze fixed on the waves rolling in. Seabirds circled overhead, dipping close to the water, then disappearing against the horizon. "I see why you come here," she said softly. "It feels peaceful, like the rest of the world is on pause." Stephen moved beside her, resting his arms on the railing. "When I first bought this place, I didn't use it much. Always felt like I was escaping something, but now I just appreciate the quiet." They remained like that for a moment, letting the ocean's endless cadence fill the silence. Eventually, Stephen angled himself toward Donna, recalling how every chapter of their strange journey had led them here. "I've been thinking about the last few months, meeting you, exposing Jessica, dealing with Gregory's threats. It's not how I imagined my life would change, but I'm grateful." She turned to face him. The sun caught her eyes, making them gleam. "Me too. I never expected to find... well, I'm not even sure what to call us. But it feels real and it feels good." He hesitated, noticing how the afternoon light cast her silhouette against the sparkling ocean. "I was afraid you'd want to walk away after the wedding. Cut ties to avoid any more complications. I'm glad you didn't." Donna offered a slow, reflective smile. "I considered it. The original plan was strictly business, help you, expose Jessica, protect my company. But along the way, something shifted. I started caring about you, about us, more than I ever thought I would." She pushed off the railing, stepping closer. "You helped me realize I don't have to face life's battles alone, and I think you found a similar lesson." Stephen felt a lump forming in his throat. "Growing my tech empire, I always told myself I was unstoppable on my own, but I see now that having someone I trust is a far greater strength than going solo. I'm done hiding behind my work." Donna brushed a hand against his cheek, the contact light but significant. "Then let's figure out the next step, together." He nodded, taking her hand and guiding her to a small outdoor table where he'd set up glasses of chilled lemonade and a notebook. Seagulls cried overhead as they sat down, the sun drifting lower in the sky. Stephen flipped open the notebook to a blank page. "Lucas and I have been brainstorming philanthropic angles for your catering expansion," he began. "We're thinking about hosting charity dinners, maybe once a quarter, to support local food banks. You could showcase new recipes, and the proceeds go to families in need." Donna brightened. "I love that idea. It merges both our worlds, technology sponsors, culinary expertise, and a community benefit. It could become a signature event." They started jotting ideas, potential venues, contact names, corporate sponsors. Every line they wrote, every concept they proposed, felt like an affirmation that they were forging something entirely new. No false pretenses, no manipulations, just two driven individuals pooling their skills for a greater good. The sun dipped closer to the horizon, casting a golden path across the water. At some point, their conversation shifted from logistics to personal dreams. Donna mentioned possibly writing a cookbook someday, capturing the essence of her family recipes. Stephen brought up the idea of a small retreat center for startups and culinary entrepreneurs on the Malibu property. They laughed at the scope of their ambitions, but neither dismissed them. As evening settled in, they took a walk down to the shoreline, shoes in hand. The sand felt cool beneath their feet, and gentle waves brushed against their ankles. Stephen reached out, linking his fingers with Donna's. The hush of the vast ocean reminded them of how small and fleeting their concerns were in the grand scheme of nature. "I don't know what tomorrow holds," Stephen admitted quietly, "but I do know I want you in it." Donna's features softened. "I want that too. My life has been about forging forward alone, building success, fending off threats. Letting you in was scary, but it feels right." A wave curled around their toes, leaving a pattern of foam behind. The sky flared with oranges and purples as the sun made its final descent. They turned to face each other, silhouettes outlined by the dying light. Stephen leaned in, pressing his forehead gently against Donna's, a wordless promise in the soft hush of the evening. They stood like that, letting the moment stretch. Whatever faced them, business expansions, lingering echoes of Jessica's schemes, or new adventures, they sensed they wouldn't face it alone. As the ocean whispered at their feet, they shared a quiet certainty that the bonds they'd forged were no longer built on pretense. They were building a future on trust, respect, and an unexpected love that had emerged from the chaos. And that, more than any victory or revelation, felt like the truest kind of hope. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories like this. Leave a like and comment below what you thought of the story. See you in the next video.